Good evening, everyone. I am calling to order the July 20th regular meeting of the Tukwila City Council. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk, can we have the roll call?
Councilmember Seal,
Present.
Councilmember Cruller,
Here.
Council President Papillon,
Present.
Councilmember Martinez,
Here.
Councilmember Hedrick,
Here.
Councilmember Camacho,
Here.
Councilmember Ho.
Here.
Thank you. Our land acknowledgement, Councilmember Ho.
The city of Tukwila is located on the ancestral lands of the Coast Salish people. We acknowledge their continuing connections to land, waters, and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging.
Thank you. Councilmember Ho, did you have any more you want to bring up on this subject?
Yeah, the land acknowledgement or?
Yeah, well, I was told her that you have a motion you want to propose.
Oh, yes, yes. Thank you. I just wanted to see if I had consensus from the council to essentially postpone sections 7.
This is for the agenda?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Go ahead and bring it up.
Yeah, so like I said, I wanted to see if I can get council's consent to do that. Do you want me to go ahead and make the motion? Okay, yeah. I move to postpone item 7C under unfinished business.
Second.
What was it? Item 7C
Yes,
in its entirety?
yes,
That's a lot of them.
yes.
Okay. You want to state any reason why? Or just go?
I mean, just kind of just as a whole. Me personally, there's some things on there that I feel like just wasn't discussed in depthly that I want more answers to, essentially. And so I just wanted to see if I had consensus from council to go ahead and do so.
Okay. This would be the miscellaneous amendments on our agenda tonight to the Tukwila Municipal Code. There were several items under that. Yes, go ahead.
So I'd like to know specifically, because we went over this in depth in the last meeting, what it is that is concerning that we need to talk about even further. I think we deserve to know what it is, because this is a lot of material.
Yes, I mean, I could have simply just dissect 7C as a whole, the ones I particularly wanted, but I just feel like it would probably be better just to remove it completely, unless other council members had questions that I may not have.
Fair. I actually had the same plan. So I think that I would love to see it come to a work session where we can dive in a little bit deeper than we've had the chance to.
Councilmember Seal?
Yeah, I have particular issues with item number 6, but if the rest of the council feels that we need to bring the whole thing back, then that's fine with me.
Okay.
Just so this has been through committee that you were on, Councilmember Ho. We had extensive, exhaustive questioning there, and then we just went through this last week. And now you're saying there are so many questions that you have about all of these items that we need to take it through a work session.
Again, like I said, I'm pulling it completely because there might be other council members who have questions within 7C that didn't have an answer to. I'm not going to go exactly into detail completely because we do have a full house today and I want to be respectful of those who are here and present. And so that is why I'm just asking to go ahead and pull 7C because I do have questions. Seems like other council members also have questions. And so again, to be respectful and not to go into detail, I just want to pull it off completely so that we could just have a discussion about it.
Well, I don't think if it's on consent, you can pull it without a second. I guess my problem is we're sitting here with multiple pieces of legislation. I don't see why we couldn't pass some of them tonight and then go after the one section or whatever it is that you have deep concern over.
I would say that there was a point of order last week that said that it did not go through the committee that it did. And so I feel like I would like an opportunity to dive deeper into it. Since I wasn't on that committee and I didn't have a chance to get that. And I feel like I don't have enough information based on last week. So I would like as someone who was not on that committee, I would personally like to go further in. And as I said, I had the same plan as Jane to motion to delay. And I also already seconded her motion, so we
So I'm
can
going to-
vote on it.
I'm going to speak to the point of order. It was mine. It was incorrect. And it did go through committee and we did go extensive questioning. And I'm okay if Councilmember Horo has more questions, but we did spend a great deal of time on it.
No, I understand that. I'm just
Okay.
saying, like, that made me feel uneasy. Like I couldn't trust the information because it wasn't memorable enough to trust and makes me personally want to dig deeper in. And I haven't had the opportunity to do that.
I don't want to go into it deeply, but my memory issue was more medically related.
Okay, let me go to Councilmember Martinez.
Can I
You know-
make a sorry, real quick point? If we do postpone it, we do need to know a date certain or date for when it will come back.
Okay.
Okay, so you know what? I'm in agreement that it should go to a work session again and, allow all the council members to go, to do it. Because I remember last year, I think this was voted on last year to do some housekeeping. And I wasn't in favor of it because I wanted to find out what HB 2025, how it was going to be affected. And we still don't know the effects. So to me, I'm in favor of postponing this, making this into a work session to where all of us are in there because there are a lot of questions I have. And they are from last year, and again, this is just for a vote to see. It's just a total of 4 need to vote yes on it and it could be postponed to a work session. Thank you.
My one comment here is maybe.
Councilmember Feller.
Thank you. So my one comment would be maybe it should go back to a committee and maybe not the committee that was mine. And others can watch on TV if they want, but to have other people going through this again that have gone through this, some people on the committee of the whole and some people in the subcommittee, I'm concerned we're wasting valuable time for work sessions on the budget.
Okay, well, Councilmember Hedrick, your light is on. Do you have a question or comment?
I was going to ask Laurel if there's a potential work session date that is optimal for bringing this back, and she's checking into it.
Okay. So we do have a motion and a second, so we are going to take a vote to the motion of removing this from tonight's agenda. I guess we can wait just a moment and see if there's, because I heard over here from the attorney that we have to have a date that we're going to assign to it. Can you speak to that, please?
Just that if there's going to be a motion to postpone, it needs to be to a date certain. So we should identify either which work session or which committee of the whole meeting this will come back to for the full council's consideration.
Okay. That's if it would pass. Right?
I believe the motion is on the table. I understand it hasn't been voted on,
Yeah.
but the motion should be, I think, amended to include a date certain.
Ah, okay. Councilmember Martinez?
Before the date, there is, from my understanding, there's no rush to get this approved. I mean, this doesn't have to be done by the end of September or anything, to my knowledge. This is just housekeeping. Is that correct? I don't know who I'm looking to.
I don't know if there's someone in the audience staff that could speak to this.
Yeah, because there were state and
Yeah.
regional regulations that we're trying to comply to, but I felt like it was the end of the year.
So there's time.
Oh, here we
basically.
got Mr. Tabor here. He'll give us a quick answer. Thank you.
Apologies. No, there is not any hard press deadline for state mandate to adopt by a certain timeline with any of the items in the various ordinances and fee resolution.
Thank you very much. I heard that from a state legislator last Wednesday morning, so I wanted to make sure that, that we were on the same page. Thank you.
Legislative analyst, were you able to quickly find a date that would be available?
It's hard to do this on the fly. It looks like there's a possibility on the August 17th work session, but there are a couple of competing items there. There is also potentially August 10th Planning Community Development Committee. And then I don't know if our city administrator can speak to another nuance here. Sorry.
That's okay.
But
Well-
yeah, those two dates we could look at.
Did the 17th look more available than the 10th?
17th work session has critical areas ordinance, which is a significant and weighty topic for the council.
Okay. We're going to need an amendment to the motion to put the date in.
I would specifically like it in work session and not going back to PCD committee.
Are you making a motion?
Well, I think that was the motion, was to go to a work session and not back to PCD.
On what date?
So that would be the August 17th.
August 17th, I don't recommend in
But if,
revising.
but if there's no rush, why don't we bring it back towards after budget season? So like November. Bring it back towards the end of November or December.
I'm agreeing.
We might want to have staff speak to that.
Mr. Tabor, are you the one that can speak to this?
So it's at council discretion of where they'd want to place the next date for it. There are, again, no hard and fast deadlines for state mandates. There are a lot of items we identified as positive for amendments to the code that would provide clarity, including, again, this is across 5 different ordinances and 1 fee resolution. So I would just as staff encourage if there are pieces that there's no contention over that can be moved along quicker than others, staff would be open to that as well.
Okay. We were advised that the motion though needed to have a date that we selected. So right now, the current motion doesn't have a date. So is there someone that wants to make an amendment to include a date in the motion? And then we'll be voting on the amendment and then the motion.
Excuse me, September 21st work session is an option. I was also wondering if our city clerk or city attorney could speak to if the city council decides a date tonight and then again, something happens in open session, could you reschedule that item?
Oh, certainly. I mean, things can be rescheduled. It's just a best practice to indicate when this is going to come back. And I'm wondering if council would also consider, instead of just a work session, a COW meeting.
Okay. Legislative analyst, what was that date?
Haven't gotten one yet.
Oh. Councilmember Pompian and then Councilmember Seal.
So you're saying having the discussion at a COW, or are you saying, oh, okay. I mean, we could discuss it too.
Councilmember Seal?
Yeah, the budget is being presented on November 20th. November 23rd is when we're expected to vote on the budget.
Mhm.
So just keep that date in mind. So you want to go, if you want to go after that, December 7th. it's up to
And
you.
our selection of a date, this is to the city attorney, would just be as broad as in the month of September.
Again, that is possible if it's difficult to select a date right now. I didn't realize it would be either suggested to be postponed or that we'd have trouble landing on a new date. So
Right.
we can always just aim for the month of September, either a COW or a work session.
Okay. Councilmember Martinez?
I think Councilmember Seal made a good recommendation saying December 7th after the budget. I think that's a good date. We got head nods right here thinking it's a good date. I think it's a good date.
Legislative analyst.
Now that there's interest in possibly considering committee of the whole meetings, there is more flexibility. I don't know that you need to wait until the end of the year. That's the council's discretion, of course, but July 27th and August 10th are committee of the whole dates that could accommodate this item.
Director Gerloff, you've made it to the table here. Did you want to add any input?
There is one item that might be more time sensitive. We had pointed out that there were 2 definitions in our code that could cover internet data centers, and they reflected different zones that they were allowed in. So one of the things we were planning to do is clean that up and clarify that internet data centers were only allowed in industrial zones. So if we don't take that on, that just means that ambiguity lives on our code for longer.
Which one was that, please?
So that was in the zoning code. It's in Title 18. It's the ordinance that covers the zoning code.
Item 4.
Okay. So right now the motion is to remove all of 7C. We still need a date. And what you're articulating is that there might be a little time sensitivity to item 7C4.
Could I put forward a amendment to the amendment to say with the exception of item 4?
Okay, is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay. So we have, we're going to vote on that one now. There was an amendment to say that the 7C is the motion to be removed, with the exception with a new motion of item 7C4. That's been first and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No,
Any abstention?
Thing.
Okay, so there were 5 yeses to that one. So number 4 will happen tonight. Feel like we're making progress here. All right, then to the motion then, is there anyone want to give an amendment with a date?
I'd like to make a motion that we amend it to December 7th meeting.
There's a motion of amendment to the original motion. Is there?
Second.
Okay, it's been first and seconded. A date's been thrown out of December 7th. We're going to vote on that first. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No, opposed.
Okay, so that was 5-2. So this date will now be December 7th. And now we will vote on the original motion to remove item 7C from tonight's meeting, with the exception of 4A or 4. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Any abstentions? 5-2. Y'all just got half your evening back. Okay.
Just the agenda.
Yep. Okay, I didn't see that coming, and I wasn't told about it ahead of time, so a little bit of surprise there. We will now move to your portion of the meeting, public comment. And I hear we have quite a few that want to speak tonight, maybe as many as 18 in person and 5 online. So let me just read something here briefly, because normally they are 5-minute talks, but when they get to more than 6, we reduce them down to 3 minutes. The council is okay with everyone speaking, but there will be a 3-minute limit. Those wishing to provide public comments may verbally address the city council, both on-site at Tukwila City Hall or remotely via phone or Microsoft Teams for items both on and not on the meeting agenda. Please note there are 2 options for public comments on this agenda. We are currently at the general public comments. Public comments for the public hearing related to the moratorium or correctional institutions and detention facilities should wait until the public hearing. So there's another portion later in the meeting where additional comments can be made. As there are over 6 individuals, and I mentioned this, public comments and per council rules, each person will have 3 minutes to address the council. City Clerk, do we have anyone signed up for public comments? Go ahead and read the name.
Sorry, we first have David Pookie, and then next will be Robert Newfer.
Good evening. Tonight on your agenda is 7E, and that's your Phase 2 update for Public Works. And I want to speak to that. I did go through all the stuff in the packet, and you're going to see a chart today on their priorities. There's the first 3 bullets on that chart. I would like everybody to take note of, on that, on the presentation, and ask questions about those 3. They're considered priorities. Why haven't they been done? You've got the Heiser building that's basically unoccupied except for police storage. And so they're moving the folks from Minkler down there and establishing at least wise temporary work zones for them. Could have happened 2 years ago, a year ago, this year. And they're still trying to get you to fund a $34 million or $35 million tent city for them over in the Phase 2 real estate, fabric sided buildings. I got one. You've got it budgeted out at 20 years, or they're going to try and budget it out. Those buildings don't last 20 years. They're susceptible to snow accumulation. They're susceptible to different wind amounts, and also just wear and tear and UV light. The fabric doesn't, that's the biggest part, is the deterioration of the fabric from UV exposure, weakens the structure and lets less snow, less wind, let alone anybody running alongside it with a vehicle and striking one of them. But on top of that, they want you to give them, start budgeting a blank check for $34 million, which won't cover that cost when you look at the cost of construction. And you're ultimately going to have to pay over $50 million once it's approved. And that's debt service is going to make up a lot of that overage from 34 to 50 some million is going to be in debt service. That means the utilities are coming after more money from us, the taxpayers, to cover those amounts, because that's all going to be charged off to the different service entities of the city in order to make it work. And so what I'd like to have you ask is how come they haven't at least moved temporarily into the Heiser building, start utilizing to eliminate the overcrowding condition that exists while we have this problem with funding it? Thank you.
Okay. Did my heart good, guys? That's what politics is about today. Good job. Just because it is on the agenda doesn't mean it's going to pass. You shouldn't talk about that in the beginning. You got to talk about that in open. Okay, let's talk about the homeless problem for a bit. We are not going to solve the homeless problem in the city of Tukwila. The root causes of homelessness is way above and beyond the ability of Tukwila to cover that issue. We can, if the population, how many bedrooms are open in our houses? How many garages are empty? How many backyards can we put tents in? We don't want churches. We got one church committed, but you don't got anybody else. How many of those city governments at night is this place? It's heated, it's lit. Are we putting people emergency housing in here? Being dry and warm, that's a big deal. So we don't want to do that, folks. We don't make it easy to do it. Government passes the tenants laws and we don't provide financial help with people, and it costs what, $200 a day to throw them into SCORE? And on the flip side, let's be honest. A lot of people say that want criminality don't want to be seeing these people. These are my neighbors, they talk to me and they don't want to be seeing these people and they don't think they have a right to see these people, and they come up with all these excuses. Throwing them to SCORE is not going to, it's going to help some, but it's not going to help the majority. So what I'm trying to say is, if we want to solve this problem, we need to look into ourselves first. If you know someone that needs shelter, take that someone in. We've been doing it for 30 years. Now, it's been difficult, and there's been failures and successes. The other thing is government doesn't want to do it because they play with it. You guys, you got a bunch of people who are landed who want to say, deal with the homeless people, get them out. That's about it. And let's be honest with you. There's compassion among all of you. We all know that. But that's what it is. And quite frankly, I don't want to be going to a park and seeing somebody who's made a quasi campsite right near a children's area, or make people feel uncomfortable because they're wandering around in a drug state. There's lots of reasons to have laws, but we're not even close. We're not even there. So make this particular law, the no camping, it's my place too. No camping, make sure it's nice, at least.
Joe Duffy, and then Gary Singh would be next.
Well, good evening. Today, I picked my wrong time to speak because I didn't realize what type of meeting we have. I'm here for one reason to speak, because there's some property on 144th and 53rd, short plat. Now, I don't know what everybody's talking about. No, we got different things. But when I first came on the council, that property was nothing. Now I understand that property now is supposed to have a draining on it, a waterland. When I came here, there was just a ditch. There was no water there. And now I understand we won't let the people build there because it's a wetland. That is not a wetland. It's never have been a wetland. Now, when I came here, it was just a ditch. Now, before that land was built, ready to build, only thing they needed was a road. And we couldn't get no one to build a road. Once I understand that they got the road all settled, then all of a sudden, it became a wetland. That is not a wetland. And we need to understand it's a ditch with extra water to running into off the road. So now if we're trying to hold our citizen up and our building up because of that, we can't do that. Council, we need to look into what we're doing. That is a priority land and is not a wetland. Now, all of a sudden, how we came up with a wetland, I'm interested because I want to know myself, how did we determine that as a wetland? And it's not a wetland. It's never have been. So I think we need to go back and let the people build that what they want to do on that. But the council need to understand, we need land, we need houses. And if we're going to come up with stuff like that, then we got a problem. So all I'm saying is to you all tonight, when that come up, we need to look at that hard because I want to know, how do we determine that as a wetland? Please, council, look at that. Tell me, from a land of grass and trees with a ditch on it, all of a sudden become a wetland. The only time that land become a wetland is when it rains. So I would like the council to turn around and look at that real close. But that is not a wetland, and we should not be holding developer up for a wetland. And I want you to know, let me know when we decide how we determine wetland. Thank you, but that is not a wetland, council. Look at it and look at it hard. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and honorable city council members. I think it's my first time I'm talking here. While living in 30 plus years in the city of Tukwila, enjoyed it, loved it. Last year in 2025, city adopted so-called Affordable Homes Amendment. And matter of fact, it is totally the opposite. There's a lot of burden has been put up on the developers. And one of them is there was used to be TMC code prior to 2025, which clearly states that if there's any property has less than 4 lot short plat, and you don't need any frontage improvements. All of a sudden, that got sneaked in from the staff. You guys been given like 400 pages, 500 pages, and I can understand you guys. It's so difficult to read through the whole thing and to understand every one of them. There's so much technical language and everywhere and these kind of codes, and it is hard for some time to understand it, basically go through as approved. So that particular one thing just causing, for example, somebody, I just give you guys some paperwork. It have some exhibitors and stuff like that in there. For example, somebody own a property which is 64 feet wide. If he have to do the frontage improvements on that property, that will cost approximately $1,000 per linear feet. It will be $64,000. If he will divide that property into two, the whole 64,000, because there's an existing home the person lives in, the property owner, will go to the future buyer. So are we making it affordable? I don't think so. So secondly, and the agenda of last meeting, I just give you guys some exhibits on that one. On paragraph 3 of page number 4, and city clearly admitting to it that they made a lot of errors, a lot of they need clarity, and you can read that paragraph. It says clearly that they missed a lot of things. My understanding in this whole thing is that this is very easy to just look into it. What are we doing? So if we can go back, just easily add on one of the pages, which is page number 2 of 5 of that thing. I just give it to you guys, and they can add in there about this frontage improvement and up to 4 lots. If we can just keep the prior, the TMC code. And then secondly, the agenda of last meeting, and we were talking about some clearly on page number 28 and 29 about the trees. And look at this on page 28. The city staff crossed the whole thing. They're giving no exemptions to the property owners. They're saying they cannot cut any tree whatsoever without exemption. I'm requesting you guys to just instead of eliminating completely, reduce the quantity. For example, they were line 4, give them 3. Where they were saying 2, give them 1. Give some room for the, all of a sudden, eliminating everything is not fair. And then secondly, on page number 29, the city is saying that if, for example, there's a wildly grown trees over there at some property for 50, 60 trees, then the person have to pay like $1,000 per tree. It adds up to $50,000-$60,000 for one property, and there should be a limit to it that it could be $5,000 maximum. So, and then thirdly, on a sensitive area,
Please try and wrap up.
I think I need 10 minutes, Mayor, but I understand. Thank you. I'll talk about that later.
You have till December 7th to talk about it.
Carrie Lang, and then Sharon Mann.
Wow, I'm a little bit nervous. This is my first time. I'm Carrie Lang. Thank you, council, for hearing me. I'm a local builder. I've been a builder my entire career. My father was a builder. He actually started in McMicken Heights, which is very close, back in the 60s. Anyways, I'm proud to carry on this tradition. I've been working in Tukwila since 2014. That's when I started here. Since then, I've built about 70 homes in the Tukwila area, and I've seen a lot of changes. My first home I sold here in Tukwila, brand new house I built, 479. That same house today, it's pretty much right at $1 million. Wow, that's a lot. That's not affordable. And I don't believe that's all of your faults, but I feel like I have some solutions and some concerns that could be helpful. I agree with Gary on the new frontage improvements. If I have to if I have to develop 1 lot, 2 lots, and then I've got street improvements, curb sidewalk, it's too much money. And I wish you guys would really look at that hard. I think the way you have it now is just right. Also, the curb and sidewalk, it's not congruent. If you go in the older neighborhoods, it's not there for the most part. If we're extending it, good, we can do that. But if it's not there, it's not going to look right. You guys, you have a new architectural requirement too, for single family residents. It basically looks like this. Pretend I have a 55 or a 50-foot wide lot. My home is 40 feet. So I meet my setbacks. My garage, if I want to put a 3-car, it's 30 feet. And that means the entry's 10 feet. Your new code is the garage doors added up cannot exceed 50% of the front facing of the house. I get it because you don't want to see a bunch of garage, but also 3 cars are important. It's another place for somebody to park. off the street in their garage. Maybe they want to have a little woodworking shop. Maybe they want to park their boat in there. The home still can look good even though I've been building that way for years, and I'm proud of our homes. Our houses are nice looking, and I don't like the new rule. That's my 3 minutes. All right. Thank you, council, for listening to me. Appreciate it.
Karen Mann, citizen, 4452 South 160th. So I've been watching from afar, but some of the new proposals for lot improvements have spurred me into action. The tree in the front yard is one of them. I think it's a great idea for streetscaping, but I'm so sorry to use this word, but a dumb idea for development of a lot or for future homeowners. Utilities don't always come straight away off of the road to the house. Sometimes you have water and sewer that comes this way. You may have a power coming this way. Where does that tree really go then? So if you, and then in the future, you have a homeowner, and now you have a tree in the front yard by the water in the sewer, by the driveway, by the sidewalks. Those roots are going to go nowhere but there. And unless you've had to pay that gut-wrenching bill of having somebody come in and dig that up and take care of that, you have no idea. So if this rule was made by somebody who has never had that, they should talk to a homeowner that has faced that. And that rule, they will realize how dumb it is. So, then regarding changing zoning regulations under the guise of housekeeping is really opposite of transparency, which I think we all proclaim in the type of government that we want. Cutting out public hearings, eliminating or reducing public input is not what we or you as a citizen want. Let's get back to governing for and by the people. I've been aware of properties on 53rd and 144th for well over a year. In fact, I spoke on behalf of the Master family with Mayor McLeod well over a year ago when the Masters family wanted to build an ADU for their father. When they bought that property, there was no suggestion about wetlands. Yet when they went to build that ADU, they were prohibited. So I've seen pictures of the city installed drainage system. It seems to me it could have hardly been engineered if it dumps water on properties formerly not impacted by water. These are properties that are large and have the possibility of an infill for affordable housing, which I believe is the goal of us as a whole. We need to work together, not against one another, if we're going to reach our goal of affordable housing. If we continue to add regulations and do nothing but add to the cost of those homes. Thank you.
Mike Overbeck and then Apneet Saidu.
Hello, my name is Mike Overbeck. I'm a Tukwila citizen since 2008. I also just recently completed building Oasley Park Townhomes, which is 23 units off of 144th and in from Military Road. I've glanced over some of these changes that these guys have just been talking about, and after 12 years of just pain of going through these changes, and there were some of these changes involved the building code as well as things from the city, but I just do think right now it's a great time to focus on, even though we got to build a better city, there's got to be a better balance between when and the timing of how these things are brought in my opinion. Today, there's 3 homes for sale in Tukwila that were brand new, 1.4, 1.6, and 2.2 million. Is up. Before I drove over here, I just took a quick look because I just sold the last one for 575 over in my development a week ago. So I ended up going to Burien out of frustration and I'm building there, but I live in Tukwila. I'm much partial to coming home. I was offered 3 projects in the past year. And I just think that hopefully you guys can, balance out the need for people to bring the resources, and I mean money by that, and experience, because 2 very experienced people just stood in front of me, far more than I. And hopefully we can find a way to make this work and maybe slow down the regulation a little bit until we have, I'm not sure what we have a building department for if we have no houses under $1 million for sale. What's it for? That's not, it's already been mentioned how unaffordable it is. 1.4, so you got to have a $400,000 household income to buy a house. And it is my city, and I have been through this 23 times, over 450 inspections on my job site. So I've been there. I spent a lot of time, a couple times, going to the past 2 mayors to ask them to maybe see if we can get a light to the next unit. I've had delays of 1.5 years for building permits within my 23 building permits. And even though I'm frustrated when I speak of this, and this got me a little close to home, these changes that I think are kind of unnecessary because we're still trying to financially make this work. I hope that you can consider those changes. I thank you for your time.
Opney.
Good evening, council. Good evening, mayor. Good evening, staff. Thanks for everybody being here in the crowd. I know there's a lot on the plate today, but I'm going to keep it hopefully short. I have 2:55 left. I hope all the council members and either the mayor got it or not receive my link for a website. It is a petition that was put in place probably 40 hours ago. No social media post, no online presence, all word of mouth. Last time I was here, I'm not going to say who or why this question was asked. So am I the only one speaking about this issue? No, the facts are right in front of you. The city has spoken within 40 hours. I come up here, and the reason why I made that website is because I started asking my neighbors, hey, look, if you're aligned with me, why can't you come and talk to council? Whether it's a language barrier, whether they're scared to talk, whether they're scared there may be some retribution from God knows what, people are scared. So I thought of an idea. Why don't I spend the next 2 days, 3 days and make this website and not blast it outside, online or anything? No, word of mouth. And the results speak for itself. 100 residents in 40 hours have signed that petition. That petition, what it, in essence, it says, ordinance number 2764 should be repealed. That's a very strong word, and there's ways we can work with that. But within that, it also asks the council and the mayor to at least consider going back to the standard that we had for short plats. A short plat for 2 lots, 3 lots, or 4 lots should not be at a standard for a short subdivision, and that's what we have. We just heard all these folks talking. Affordability, affordability, affordability. Yeah, we're making everything expensive, expensive, expensive. Who pays for it? The buyers and the residents. For me or any developer, we're just going to carry the cost on to somebody else. There's another public comment here. There's houses $1 million or so, and that's affordable to us? No, but we have to list that $1 million because you guys keep forcing these restrictions on developers and builders, and we have to carry the cost on to the consumer. Say a tariff. Right? It's a tariff in essence, and think about it that way. That said, I'm going to be very specific on the TMC so you guys have this on the record. TMC 17.20.040 and TMC 17.20.030. And that is in correlation with the ordinance 2764 to bring back the short plat procedure. In regards for the garage issue that was mentioned earlier, that TMC code for the record is 18.60.060 subsection D and 3. For For the record, for the critical areas, that TMC code is 18.450.050. I was asked to name these TMC codes and I've done that. I hope you guys realize the public has spoken. Thank you.
Marta Kidani. Then it will be Kara Williams.
Thank you, council members, for taking the time to hear from community members this evening. My name is Marta Kidanen. I'm the Community Engagement Manager at the Low Income Housing Institute. Our organization is proud to call Mayor Matt Cloud, the council, and city staff our shelter partners at Miracle, Riverton, and Church by the Side of the Road villages. We ask that you hold on to the spirit of that work this evening as you discuss homelessness. I am before you today to ask that you do not pass the camping restriction ordinance that would criminalize homelessness in the city of Tukwila. As a housing shelter provider, advocacy is a huge part of our work. Lehigh implores you to reconsider your stance from the committee of the whole meeting last week. At multiple points during the meeting, I heard council members state that homelessness was not being criminalized through this ordinance, but respectfully, I cannot agree. When creating a law, you must consider that it will be used to its full extent, and particularly when it comes to vulnerable and marginalized populations. You cannot expect a promise to not use a law as an unspoken rule. If it is not written, it will not be done. In reading the ordinance, I can see there's a desire to protect people who are unhoused through the language about public health and personal safety. But there is no question that if passed, the law would have negative ramifications for the unsheltered population in this city. 90 days in prison and a $1,000 fine must be treated as the additional barriers they will become to people trapped in poverty. From what I have heard in relation to this ordinance in 2 different committee meetings, the decision stems from a single individual who was difficult to remove from public property a few years ago. This does not seem like a fair or equal measure to the incident. Additionally, I have repeatedly heard a promise that this ordinance will only be used as a last resort. But that is an outcome that is in opposition to the ordinance's design. We ask that you find a human service-centered pathway to supporting our neighbors until more shelter is available in King County. Being outside in a tent in this capacity is not camping. It is doing what you can to keep yourself safe. It's survival mode when you have nowhere else to go. The impact of this ordinance will be dire if implemented, and prison and a financial burden on an already vulnerable population is not the answer. As our partner that supports the population we are speaking to this evening, we ask that the council view people sleeping outside as our neighbors meeting a human need, rather than people requiring criminal punishment because there isn't enough shelter in the region. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Kara Williams, and I work at the Low Income Housing Institute. I'm here tonight to oppose Agenda Item 7D, the Camping Restriction Ordinance. As a tiny house village provider in Tukwila, Lehigh does not support legislation that punishes our client population for surviving while experiencing homelessness. I've heard discussion about whether or not this policy criminalizes homelessness. There is no question this ordinance makes homelessness a crime. Littering, using substances in public places, and many other public health and safety concerns associated with unsanctioned encampments are already criminal offenses. If you pass this ordinance, someone could be sleeping in a tent in a park and doing nothing else, and that would now be a crime in Tukwila. I'd like to flesh this out for you so you can understand how this ordinance would harm real people, including the clients at our tiny house villages in Tukwila. Here's a story I've heard so many times. Say someone is faced with unexpected medical bills and can't pay their rent, and they and their partner get evicted. They start living in a tent in a park because they cannot get into shelter in Tukwila. They encounter the police, turn down the shelter that's offered to them because they'd have to sleep in a congregate setting, leave their belongings behind, or separate, or some other reason, and end up with a $1,000 fine they can't afford. Because they can't pay the fine, it stacks up until they're taken into custody. They get released from jail, and let's optimistically say there's a shelter bed for them where they can stay together. It will now be significantly more challenging for them to find permanent housing and employment because they owe the city money and they have a record. and their time being unhoused would be extended and more harmful than it otherwise would have been. I ask that you think about the humans experiencing homelessness you're criminalizing with this ordinance. There are so many complex barriers to accessing treatment and shelter, not least of which the fact that there are thousands upon thousands of people in our county who need far fewer shelter and treatment beds. This camping restriction is a Band-Aid fix, not a solution that will help people. But there's also optics to caring for all of your constituents, housed and unhoused. I've spoken to multiple of you who check in on our monthly Community Advisory Committee meetings. Lehigh thanks you for your partnership and investment in establishing 3 tiny house villages. But our clients need shelter and services, not fines or jail time. We ask that you please listen to the shelter providers and coalitions who are doing this work every day. Please do not pass the camping restriction ordinance. Thank you.
Brian Dang.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Brian Dang. I'm a displaced tech worker and a lifelong human artist. Before I go into my comments about a potential data center moratorium, I wanted to comment on Ordinance 7D and express that banning tents solves nothing. Tukwila would be taking away homes from people who are unhoused already. We would become the greatest evictor in chief. Lastly, naming the ordinance as camping is a misnomer. Camping is recreation for people whose life needs are met. A homeless person living in a tent is just trying to survive. Homelessness is not a crime. Last week, I spoke about how hyperscale AI data centers cause noise, power and water consumption, and waste, yet have no public benefit. Today, I will share my recommendations on what to consider when shaping a data center moratorium. I'll put this in writing and we'll share more on July 27th. 1, examine the climate impacts. Land use, water use, labor standards, transparency, and community benefits before approving additional large data centers. 2, Tukwila should protect ratepayers. Tukwila residents should never be left paying for infrastructure built for speculative data centers projects that are canceled or abandoned in the event of an AI bubble collapse. The city should require financial protections like letters of credit, parent company guarantees, or collateral so that developers, not ratepayers, bear the financial risk. 3, make data centers support the grid. Data centers should be required to participate in demand response and reduce electricity use during peak demand or grid emergencies. 4, require renewable energy. New data centers should help expand renewable energy. The city should also limit the reliance on fossil fuel backup generators. I have more to say on this topic, which I'll share over time, but I'll keep it short today. Thank you, Council.
Andrea Suarez.
Try to not hunch over this time. Hi, everybody. Thank you for your dedication to public service. I'm Andrea Suarez, the founder of We Heart Seattle. Why is We Heart Seattle here in Tukwila? We've picked up 2.1 million pounds of trash in King County, including the city of Tukwila and Gilliam Creek, unclogging hundreds of thousands of pounds of trash from salmon culverts, waterways, green belts, parks, under bridges. And so if you're an environmentalist today, you have to ask yourself, is unsanctioned camping, like set aside homelessness and criminalization, is pitching a tent wherever you want environmentally sound? Are we environmentalists? We spend a lot of money in taxes arguing for these environmental causes. We Heart Seattle has picked up hundreds of thousands of used needles that are in our parks, used foils, propane tanks, tires, boats, Corvettes, Grimly, we found 13 dead bodies in tents left there because we're unwilling to go within 20 feet of a tent or simply leave them alone because that one guy is one paycheck away from paying rent or fell in hard times. I respect my friends from Lehigh, but I hate the game. And these folks have been in charge for the last 10 years, yet Washington State is #1 in homelessness growth, up 418%. We're #4 in death by overdose, down up from 29th in the nation to #4 in overdose deaths. Washington State is #1 in retail theft. Drugs aren't free. In 6 years, We Heart Seattle has raised and spent $5 million. This is not some anecdotal piece of information I'm giving you. We have a multi-million-dollar facts on the ground study that any university in our nation would love to have had and use as part of their curriculum. $5 million, 75,000 hours of volunteers have been on the ground cleaning trash and revealing that this is a drug crisis. Every tent I've ever seen, except for like one, has been filled with beaten women, trafficked women, babies, drugs, stolen bikes, missing children. Since I testified last week and the 7 people we had here last week say hello, they're off to other things now, including public service. We need to make our parks equitable and safe for all. And when you allow and permit safe tents to pitch wherever you want, it just encourages a constellation of bad things. I've seen it firsthand, and I ask you to pass the camping ban tonight. You will save lives. You will be a beacon of hope in King County and leaders. You will make headlines. Tukwila did it, and the rest of us should too, to save the babies and save the environment. Thank you.
Jenna Ducato.
Good evening, Council. Thanks again for the opportunity to be here. I'm once again here to advocate for a ban on camping in public spaces. I was here last week on Monday to give testimony about my experience with Robert, a 9-year-old boy in my neighborhood who endured countless atrocities. Robert and his mother went through 4 different sweeps along the interurban trail. And each sweep, he moved to a slightly different location. All the while, that spanned months where nobody was able to reach Robert and offer him or his mother services. His mother frequently left him alone while she went to Aurora Avenue to feed her addiction. Sweeping does not address the root issue of the rampant drug use and other crimes happening in tents. I personally saw how the care team was not able to implement a path forward to services for Robert and his mom. Staying in their tent simply prolonged her drug usage and exposed Robert to all sorts of atrocities, with piles of trash everywhere, bottles of urine everywhere. This ordinance will help get others into services faster and prevent the additional destruction that continues to show in our community by the way of major environmental damage, huge amounts of litter, human waste, needles and syringes, massive retail theft, and sex trafficking, to name a few. Thank you.
Chad Robertson.
Good evening. I came here with a totally separate agenda, but I clearly do not have time for that tonight. So what I'd like to talk about is why are there no benches at the bus stops? Anybody? I mean, are we trying to keep the homeless people from sleeping on them? Are we trying to keep them from shooting up? What are we doing here? Because
Let me mention to you that we don't normally engage a lot in public comment, but actually those are the responsibility of King County Metro.
okay, That's County Metro. Okay, well, that explains something. So I guess I'll have to talk to them about why we don't have benches and why it's created another issue altogether with people who maybe have health conditions that might need to sit while they're waiting for the bus. Yeah, I would love the bench too. That'd be great. So let's move on to trash. It's been noticed around the city, and I do believe this falls on you, is the trash is overflowing. And it is due to the fact that, from what I can see, people are dumping their household trash in the public garbages. So I don't know if this is something that we can double up the efforts on and get that cleaned up, because it's really making our city look like garbage. I don't appreciate that. I think the last time I was here talking to all of you, it was about the graffiti on the home or on the older folks' homes, and just basic cleanup of things. You know, if we were to do something as simple as change the garbage can a little bit, not make it so easy for them to drop their full bags in there, maybe the ones that separate the recycle from the trash to whatever, that might be an idea, I would think. You know, clearly there's work to be done. You know, I don't know where you guys are at with that. Clearly this is not on your agenda tonight. However, I feel it is rather important to talk about these things. The agenda I actually showed up here for was to talk to you about an invasive species that is basically taking over my backyard. It's running bamboo. I don't have time to get into everything that I've written down and studied on and all of that stuff. I understand it's a civil matter. However, it doesn't have to be. There's other cities and counties across the United States, East Coast particularly, that has regulated these things and put into effect enforcement codes. Because it's really not telling people what they can or cannot have in their yard. It's more about a fairness issue. You know, if my neighbor decides he's going to plant this bamboo and it decides to come over into my yard, I didn't want that. I don't need that. It's a massive pain in the neck to eradicate it. You have to dig it up multiple times. The rhizomes, all that other fun science stuff. Just very costly. You know, and I feel like if the city were to adopt something in line with invasive species, period, that would be great. The problem is King County, which I'm assuming you guys go by King County's invasive species list, it does not include running bamboo. King County considers it a nuisance, such as, I don't know, a tree or a shrub invading your yard, okay? It's not the same. Trees and shrubs can be pruned back, no big deal, and it doesn't cause you to take your neighbor to civil court, causing tension. Thank you.
For the record, we are here every Monday, except holidays and fifth Monday, so feel free to come back and share more.
Sasha Liao Lutat Singh.
Good evening, council members. My name is Sasha Liao-Lutatsing, and I live in Tukwila. I'm here because of a petition related to Ordinance 2764. Under the current code, the builder next door may be required to construct a sidewalk or other street improvements within the city-owned right-of-way that fronts my property. I want to be clear. I support safe, walkable streets, but I'm concerned that the new standards may unintentionally create disproportionate burdens for small projects and for adjacent homeowners who didn't initiate the development. My understanding is that before Ordinance 2764, small short plats had a different, more proportional set of requirements. After the ordinance, small projects may be treated like large subdivisions, which can trigger expensive half-street improvements. I'm asking the council to consider whether these requirements are truly proportional for small infill development and whether they create unintended impacts on neighboring homeowners. I would appreciate clarity on how the city determines when improvements are required, who is responsible for them, and how the city protects adjacent property owners from being affected by construction they did not initiate. I'm here to ask for clear, predictable, and fair standards that support housing while also respecting existing homeowners. Thank you for your time and for your considering this issue.
Barb Ivanor.
It's a pleasure to see you here tonight. Thank you so much.
for your time and your service in listening to the community. My name's Barb Ivanoff. I lived in Tukwila since I was 19. Now I'm very old, so I think that's 52 years. And I love our town. I love our town, and I know you do too. I'm here to talk about the camping ordinance. What I understand by reading is that the change would mean for the officers on the street that they would have an additional tool that would allow them to remove camping equipment, the belongings, if it's on a sidewalk, if it's in a public utility area, that we already have ordinances or part of city code that says you can't just pitch a tent in a park and stay there interminably. So what I know is that when you look around the community, what's going on in Seattle is very bad. It's very bad. We don't need to philosophize. We don't need to come up with slogans or signs. You can see on the streets what happens when no one addresses and allows, by not addressing, people to live on the street, people to live in the community. And I know that the reason you ran for office, the reason you're serving is that the first job of any government is to protect its citizens. So when I think of, we walk our dogs every day in the community, I have great grandchildren I walk around and play with in the parks. I do not want to see dangerous encampments in public areas. And I think that is fair, and I think that is a right of the general citizen, the resident who lives here. I also believe that there has to be some teeth in an ordinance, because if I don't care, and I agree with one of the former speakers, all the studies show that this is 85, 90%, you're talking about people who have a combination of mental illness and drug addiction, that just asking or saying, please move, or please get your life together, and even frankly, just saying, here's your housing, does not help. They're struggling with addiction, which is a powerful force. So I'm very glad to hear, when I studied about what you're proposing, that currently officers do offer to take them to services. They can go there. I know that since I've done ride-alongs with some of the private service operators, Union Gospel Mission, that they will take you directly to detox and for services, if that is the issue you're struggling with. So with that, I say thank you so much. I trust your good judgment. Again, I trust the fact that we know that the first job of government is to keep citizens safe, and it's not safe for anybody. It's not safe for anybody to have folks actually living on sidewalks or in ditches in public utility areas. So thank you so much.
Keith Lowe.
Hello, all. Clearly, I'm here on a very important, passionate night, and my thing seems kind of trivial, but it's a bit of a follow-up about noise ordinance being changed to include cars. And I think you mentioned you might be able to help me with that. Last time I was here in April, maybe.
Normally when you give public comment, we just receive them and listen, not dialogue, but we can have somebody, when you're done with public comment here, get your name and number and we'll follow up with you.
Awesome.
But you can say whatever you want right now.
Okay, wonderful, thanks. And then, not to be a party pooper, but fireworks, can we ban them? That would be lovely. Okay, thanks.
And could someone from the staff then maybe get the name and number and we can follow up with you?
I do have that number. Matthew Emanetti.
As we face the homelessness crisis here in Tukwila, we need more tools, not less. We have a small town, small police department. It's not an albatross ruled by a union. We have connection to our law enforcement. We have the ability to temper their actions and make sure they follow our vision. As the legislators of Tukwila, you serve the citizens of Tukwila, not Seattle, not Lehigh, not King County, not Olympia, not activists, Tukwilans. Tukwilans want safety. If we wanted to live in Seattle, we'd move to Seattle. We don't. We want to live in Tukwila. Running the city is your job, but your sacred duty is this river. It's depicted in the glass art behind you. It's codified in the land acknowledgement we say every week when we start this off. It's going to take courage to live into those ideals, courage to face a maelstrom of criticism and pressure and moneyed interests that want to influence your decisions. Camping ordinance need not be an end. It can be a beginning. You can do the work of restoration and justice, but we need the mechanisms to manage the most malignant elements that take advantage of our compassion. Thank you.
Josh Castle.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Josh Castle. I'm a neighbor in Tukwila in the Cascade View neighborhood. I spoke last week and don't need to repeat a lot of what I said then. I just want to reiterate again that this proposed camping ordinance would be punishing people with as many as 90 days in jail, a $1,000 fine, and a criminal record for the biological act of sleeping, even when there is no shelter bed or tiny house available. Experiencing homelessness itself should not be a crime in Tukwila or anywhere. Those who are housed do not have a special status or series of rights that are above those who are unhoused. Both are equally loved by God. I heard many comments last week in testimony, and today again, that were disturbing to me. It's offensive to hear people stigmatize and stereotype homeless people as if they're all drug users and traffickers and thieves and more. Many folks sleeping in a park or a doorway hit a rough patch. They lost their housing, they lost their job, they got hit with a healthcare crisis. They do not have family or friends to take them in. People don't choose to be homeless. I assure you they are not camping. All times camping is listed in that ordinance. It should be replaced with sleeping outside without shelter. No matter what happens tonight, we should never be dehumanizing our houseless neighbors. I also want to add that harassment of people, theft, open drug use, and trafficking are already crimes, if I'm not mistaken. There's no need to pass a new law to deal with folks engaging in that behavior. Focus on the actual crimes. Leave people who just desperately need to sleep alone. We need way more tiny house villages, more deeply affordable housing. And as I said last week, I'm grateful to Tukwila, Mayor McLeod, and the council, and all the staff who helped. Lehigh, Pastor Proctor, Pastor Jan, Pastor Jenkins, and others for making this possible. 3 tiny house villages when no other city around us but Seattle and unincorporated Skyway has them. It makes me proud to live here. But unlike all the ordinances that made that possible, this ordinance does the polar opposite. It does not offer people a path to stability, to safety, and hope. It offers them a jail cell, a fine, and a criminal record to further deepen the despair they're already experiencing in their daily lives. Tukwila is better than this. Please vote no on this ordinance. Thank you.
That was the last in-person sign up.
Legislative analyst, do we have any virtual commentators?
Yes, we do. And I'd like to remind everyone that to give comment virtually, we do require sign up in advance. The first is Amanda Richer.
Yes, hi, my name is Amanda Richer. I'm a displacement consultant for the University of Washington One Health. I'm a subject matter expert on homelessness policy, a member of the UN NGO. working group. I'm co-founder of Shelter App, and I work locally, regionally, nationally, and globally on issues affecting homelessness and housing. And I say that because I want to talk to you today about an ordinance in front of the city council. I have been unsheltered. I have been swept of the little I had managed to accumulate. I have been jeered at. I have been threatened. I have been accused of being on drugs. And I don't need to look around for the next titillating trauma so that I can further an agenda, because I actually lived it. And what I want to say is I want to talk about some facts. Tukwila has the highest rate of student homelessness. Now, remarkably, those students graduate at around 75%, which is amazing due to the district staff and how they manage that under impossible conditions. I can't imagine taking their belongings will help much. When people picture encampments, usually they don't picture children, with the exception, of course, the cases that can be used to attack the entire community. But there is a McKinney-Vento definition. Yes, we use more definitions, and there is more people experiencing homelessness than you think. A lot of this was based on the last resort for refusing services. So how is it that people refuse a shelter bed that doesn't exist? Is Tukwila imagining a utopia of services? Because the only concrete shelter capacity inside Tukwila city limits is a 20-bed short-term shelter for young adults. And the number of people sleeping outside, you get roughly one usable shelter bed for every 24 people. Some of the other things I've heard is, of course, it's going to cost people money. They don't have money. They're going to criminalize somebody. In the end is going to make a profit off of them being in the judicial system. We all know that. There are also some other sensationalized complaint things coming out, which is like human trafficking. So I just want to point out that Polaris Project, an analysis of national trafficking hotline data, shows a consistent pattern. Sex trafficking victims are recruited by someone close to them, family members or intimate partners. I would think that some of the money would be spent on that. Most housed people are not traffickers, but an overwhelmingly disproportionate amount of them are if you pair them up to those that are experiencing homelessness. And in fact, those in the tents are disproportionately victims. Research from the Covenant House found roughly 1 in 5 youth are trafficking survivors. And I can tell you from being in an encampment that is absolutely true. I have much more to say, but I know my time is up. And if anybody would like to see, I absolutely did a predictive model as to what it will cost you in money and human lives if you enact this ban. Thank you.
Hallie Willis.
Good evening, council members and Mayor McLeod. My name is Hallie Willis, and I'm the policy manager for the Seattle-King County Coalition on Homelessness. I'm commenting tonight in opposition to the proposed camping restriction ordinance under consideration. The coalition has over 50 member organizations who shelter, house, and care for people experiencing homelessness all over King County, including in Tukwila. We've learned from experience that camping bans like this are not a tool to address homelessness. They do nothing to help people get shelter, housing, food, medicine, community, or other things they need. Instead, they push people further out into more dangerous and hard to reach situations. They break people off from their connections to service providers and systems of care and support that folks have worked so hard to build. Instead, they wrap people up in cycles of jail and fines they can't pay, and they force people to move over and over again. Other South King County cities have passed similar bans, creating an ever-growing island where it's illegal to be homeless. In a city and a region where there's not enough shelter for everyone, where are people supposed to go? Tukwila should be proud of the shelter that it's created over the years. That's a real step towards ending unsheltered homelessness. But laws like this would take you backwards and make it even harder to help people get into a home or shelter that meets their needs. Please vote no and instead focus on connecting your residents to the services, shelter, and housing they actually need. Thank you.
Jasmine Clark.
Good evening, council members. My name is Jasmine Clark. I'm testifying on behalf of the ACLU of Washington in opposition to item number 7D, the proposed camping restriction ordinance. For years, the ACLU of Washington has worked alongside people directly impacted by homelessness, service providers, local governments, and advocates across our state. And one of the clearest lessons is that people living in tents are not camping, they are surviving a housing crisis. Across Washington, at least 241 cities and towns have enacted laws restricting life-sustaining activities like sleeping, resting, or sheltering outdoors, yet homelessness has continued to rise. According to the 2026 point in time count, more than 32,000 people are experiencing homelessness across Washington. And here in King County, there are only 6.5 shelter beds for every 100 people experiencing homelessness. That means more than 90 out of every 100 people experiencing homelessness have no shelter bed available to them on any given night. And that reality is reflected here in Tukwila. The staff report identifies only a handful of local shelter options. The Tukwila Police Department has access to just 7 units at Lehigh's Miracle Temple Tiny Home Village and 5 units at the church by the side of the road village. These units are limited, they are assigned through the police department, and the provider maintains an ongoing wait list of people who are eligible and seeking placement. The city's other identified option, the Crisis Solution Center, is limited to individual adults and provides emergency shelter for up to 2 weeks. It is not available to couples or family, and by design is only a temporary intervention. So simply put, there is no meaningful housing or shelter capacity that is available that could absorb the people this ordinance would criminalize. When the available options consist of a dozen tiny home units with an existing wait list and a short-term emergency shelter with significant eligibility limitations, sleeping outside is not a choice. It is the predictable consequence of an inadequate housing and shelter system. The city also relies on the Supreme Court's decision in Grants Pass. That decision answered a constitutional question about what local governments may do. It did not suggest that criminalization is an effective response to homelessness, nor did it conclude that punishing people for sleeping outside creates safer communities. This council is being asked to decide not simply what is legally permissible, but what is good public policy. Criminalizing homelessness does not create housing. It does not increase shelter capacity. It does not address untreated behavioral health needs. It does not reduce poverty. What it does is increase people's involvement with the criminal legal system, making it even harder to obtain housing, employment, and long-term stability. Everyone deserves the ability to meet their most basic human needs, including sleep and rest, without facing criminal punishment simply because they have nowhere else to go. On behalf of the ACLU of Washington, we respectfully urge you to reject this ordinance and instead invest in the housing, shelter, and support services that are proven to reduce homelessness and strengthen communities. Thank you.
Linda Pruitt.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, thank you. My name is Linda Pruitt, and I am a 43-year resident of Northeast Seattle. Tonight, I'm hoping to share my experiences regarding unauthorized encampments in our public parks and spaces in our community. I ask you to support the proposed camping restriction ordinance tonight. We're fortunate that in our neighborhood, we have 5 lovely public parks and open spaces within just a few blocks of our central business district. But over the last number of years, the city of Seattle has permitted unauthorized encampments in these parks and open spaces, making the spaces often unusable and unsafe for members of our community, including young families with children, seniors, and other community members. Those living in the parks are homeless. Many suffer from drug addiction, both housed and unhoused, suffering from drug addiction, and also those suffering from mental illness. Teams of outreach workers do work in our community and offer shelter and treatment options. However, those living in the parks sometimes believe they have the legal permission to stay and do not always accept the treatment offered. In our parks, there can sometimes be large groups of 15 to 20 people, actively using drugs, and drug dealers know this and come to serve these users, making our parks a drug hub as the number of users grow. Violent episodes have occurred among those living in our parks, including the most recent, a double homicide just last August, where shots were fired and 2 were murdered by another living in the park, merely feet from children playing on a swing set. It's not uncommon for those camping to possess weapons, including guns and machetes. I encourage your support of a camping ban ordinance to provide a tool for the protection of all, both those truly in need and the general public alike. Thank you.
Just another reminder for those online that we do require sign up in advance and that you're identifiable by name and number in advance of the meeting. That is the last of the online signups that I see present. Todd Gunther signed up, but I do not see him on the meeting. I will follow up with him offline. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. City Clerk?
Allison Eisinger had signed up online, but she's in chambers right now, if you'd like to come up. Thank you very much, council members. I was at another work event, so I appreciate the opportunity to be here in person. Mayor McLeod, members of the City Council, my name is Allison Eisinger. I'm the director of the Seattle-King County Coalition on Homelessness. We are an independent county-wide coalition that exists to mobilize our community to challenge the systemic causes of homelessness and to advocate for housing justice. Our member organizations include most of the organizations that provide everything from housing, shelter, outreach, healthcare, employment, and other services to people experiencing homelessness, to the kinds of housing that transforms people from having been homeless to being housed members of our various communities. We also provide backpacks and school supplies to kids experiencing homelessness. Just this week, we are starting our Project Cool for Back to School. And as a previous commenter noted, there are children experiencing homelessness in this community, as in so many others. We have a great deal of experience with similar efforts by local jurisdictions to pass laws that effectively banish their own residents from their home communities. I had the opportunity to speak with a couple of you. I also had the opportunity to speak with your interim police chief, and I hope to speak with all of you about this because I hope that you do not pass this tonight and instead undertake the admittedly difficult but necessary work of answering the questions that I pose to your colleagues. What is it that you are attempting to solve with this legislation? The proposal before you is actually poorly targeted, expensive, and guaranteed to be ineffective. My understanding is that there are some issues that the police chief feels need to be addressed. It is unclear to me at this point, having reviewed the materials available, that this legislation would in fact address them, and it is very clear that it would do significant harm not only to people in your community without homes, but actually to the reputation and effective work that is happening here in Tukwila. We are glad to offer our perspective, our insight, and to work with you and others in this community to identify much more productive ways to proceed and to use public resources. We're specifically underscoring tonight, asking you to understand and describe to the public what the issue is that you are hoping to address with this bill. This law will be on the books for many years. So the idea that you don't intend to enforce it or that you intend to enforce it rarely or lightly is really not the basis for passing new legislation.
Go ahead and please wrap up.
Thank you very much. We hope that you will take these steps to better understand both what is proposed and also to address what you and your constituents are experiencing and how this city can continue to effectively respond to the needs of people and surrounding communities with approaches that don't punish people or move them from one place to another at great cost to them and to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's all the public comments, both in person and virtual. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to come down and to share your thoughts with the council. Council, your rules of procedure say at 8:30, ask if they want to take a 5-minute break. Do you want to take it? I'm seeing a head nod there.
Oh, we've been waiting, our police officer to be sworn has been waiting here all night long, and we have another speaker. Maybe make it 3.
What's that?
Can we move the agenda? I mean,
That one's next.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So you want to take a short break, and then we will have the swearing in of the officer. So just 5 minutes.
And I think my name is. They come together.
One minute, and we'll start him back up. All right, we are coming back from recess. Council members, please join us on the dais. 5 minutes is 5 minutes. Okay, we have two presentations tonight. One of them, the first one, the introduction and swearing in of Officer Ashley Sincrow. If I said that correctly, please meet me down at the podium.
Good evening, Council. Interim Chief Eric Lund, and I'm really happy to have Ashley Sincrow here, badge number 293, to be the mayor, administer the oath of office to her. Ashley's from Bonnie Lake, and she had a non-traditional route to be here tonight. We hired her in June of 2025, started the academy in July of 2025, got injured in September of 2025, restarted the academy in March of 26 and graduated last Tuesday. So a long road for her. She did the academy twice pretty much, but really excited to be here. So, Mayor?
Oh, look at that. Is it your family that's here photo and video in this in the back? Your dad, okay, he can move around wherever he wants. In fact, we'll go on to this side over here.
Okay. He's like, no.
This is great. I think, am I correct, that you are the seventh? I'm going to ask you to say I. Repeat. Right hand. I,
Ashley Sincrow,
having been duly appointed office of police officer
to the office
to the city of Tukwila, Washington,
of the city of Tukwila, Washington,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully
perform the duties of my office as prescribed by law
as prescribed
to the best of my ability.
and to the best of my
That I will abide by the law
that I will
enforcement code of ethics.
enforcement code
That I will support and maintain
and that I will support
ordinances of the city of Tukwila,
the ordinances,
the laws and constitution
the laws
of Washington,
of the state of Washington. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
like to say something?
I just want to say that I am honored and proud and very excited to serve the community of Tukwila, and thank you guys for tonight. I appreciate it. Oh. I was gonna go that way.
Yep, Officer Sincrow, it's great to have you aboard. Okay, we have another presentation, Best Starts for Kids. So this is going to be presented by Dr. Jamelia Jones and Jessica Tolner Cafferty. Best Start for Kids. Looking forward to this. I'm going to go ahead and just turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor McLeod and members of the council. We're glad to be here with you this evening. I'm Jessica Tolner Cafferty. I'm one of the two co-leads for the Best Starts for Kids initiative at King County.
And I'm Jamelia Jones, and thank you for having us.
And I can't talk and do things at the same time, so give me 1 second.
So I'll just start off. We're here to share just a little bit about an update on Best Starts for Kids as a levy initiative and kind of where we're at today. And so Best Starts for Kids we're in our second iteration of Best Starts for Kids. It's a voter approved levy that the first iteration was 2016. And then Best Search for Kids, as we refer to it, Best Search for Kids 2.0, as you can see, is from 2022 to 2027. So it will be ending, hopefully renewed at the end, December 31st, 2027. So this iteration of Best Search for Kids is investing more than $800 million across King County, including 2 new investment areas, that is childcare and capital projects. And we think that Best Starts for Kids is really a great example of how communities and government can partner to serve all of babies, children, and families across King County, the county.
So we wanted to share a little bit about our approach to just kind of ground us in. One of the things that's unique about Best Starts is that we're really focused on moving upstream. And so where so many of our investments in government and in public services are when hard things have already happened, we're really focused on saying, how do we work early on to talk about promoting more of the things that we know support families in thriving and preventing that harm? And so we're doing a lot of work sort of upstream. We also have some work that's focused on early intervention. So when families or young people have a need, making sure that it's addressed in the way they need as defined by them as early as possible. And then policy and systems change, recognizing that if we want long-term sustainable change, we also have to be informing our policies by the work that's happening.
And here's just an overview of all of our investment areas. So there is 10, 8, I don't know, I can't count, it's late. 8, thank you. So beginning with childcare, which is at about 200 million over the life of the levy, and then capital projects, which is up to 50 million. And then technical assistance and capacity building, which is really how do we support our community partners at the time of application. Technical assistance addresses or provides support to organizations at application, and capacity building is when organizations have been awarded, they can receive some support at no cost to them. So we have a number of different consultants that provide, whether it's supporting with financial infrastructure, whether it's supporting with, identifying or developing a board, et cetera. And then our Youth and Family Homelessness Prevention Initiative, which is 22 million. And you'll see some of the investment areas are by percentage and some are a specific dollar amount. That is how I think our council members at the time, some of these investment areas were add-ons. So I'm going to continue.
Yeah, sure. So the remaining 4 are sort of the original investment areas that we've had since the very beginning of the levy. There's a substantial investment in prenatal to 5 services. That's really rooted in brain science, knowing these are critical years for babies and young children. But then also a significant investment from 5 to 24, recognizing that if we invest early, we want to be able to continue to build on the good stuff that's happening for those young people as they move through childhood and into adulthood. We have an initiative called Communities of Opportunity that focuses on how do we create really solid community conditions. I see some heads nodding, and this is focused on community well-being so that families can be well. And then we like to highlight that we have a very specific focus on data and evaluation. We think it's important for us to be continuously learning, both for improving our own work and understanding what the results of our work are, but also so that we can continue to inform systems and policy change.
And this is just an overview of kind of where we're at, a snapshot. This is obviously from May 2026, but we do update this information periodically. But this is where we are now, and total awarded is over 700 million thus far, about 872 awards. And then we like to always highlight like how much was requested in terms of how many organizations applied for some of our RFPs versus total number of applications, et cetera. And what we know is that we've had each strategy area, an RFP we've released, we've had a significant increase in applications.
All right, so we want to talk a little bit about what's happening through Best Starts in the city of Tukwila specifically. So thus far in the levy, we're in the 5th year of the second levy. Almost $200 million have been awarded to organizations serving the city of Tukwila and families who live in the city of Tukwila. We have 87 unique partners. So these are community-based organizations that served at least 10,240 young people and family members in Tukwila zip codes over the past 5 years. We say that's at least because for some of our programming, we don't collect every single individual's data. And so it could be a larger number than that.
And then we always like to highlight just some of the successes or stories from our partners and families specific to your area. And something that our partners have described in Tukwila is that the strengthened resource navigation to help families navigate complex systems and access to basic needs and services, which is something that we hear as we across the county that is huge, is just access to basic services or basic needs and services. But also partners increase cultural relevancy in programs by employing staff with lived experience, having deep connections in community, and being embedded in community and also having supporting with like language access.
Hang on, it's not shifting. There we go. Partners weren't without challenges, though, in the city of Tukwila. I think one of the significant ones we've seen, particularly in the last year, was concerns around immigration enforcement, both in terms of the impact on communities served, but also having a chilling impact on families and young people accessing services, really being afraid to come and access those services. So that's something we wanted to flag for you all.
And here's just some examples of some of the impacts in Tukwila. Strong, trusting relationships and supports, positive outcomes for families and young people through our infant mortality prevention network. And then also just programs that have helped caregivers increase their confidence and knowledge in terms of parenting and supports.
All right, so we want to highlight for you just a few last things. What you have here is an image of our year in review report that's going to be coming out very soon. We just wrapped our annual reporting for 2025. You all should have copies of our 2024 report, which is now out of date. I apologize, but we wanted to bring you something. But the annual report is available in partnership with our dashboard. And so if you're interested in kind of digging into the data, if you're a data wonk, there's a treasure trove of really beautiful data in there.
Which was just updated July. Just the other day.
It was just updated and it is very fun if you like data. But what we wanted to show you here is that every year we look at where we're serving people, where our partners are serving people, and who's being served. And so one of the things we wanted to get at is if we're really saying we want all families to thrive, we should be serving more where the greatest needs are. And so what we do every year is we compare data around our service delivery numbers to 2 measures. One is the density of young people living in King County. So that's young people under the age of 24. That's where you would see on that left map areas that are darker have more young people living in those zip codes or those areas. The second one is child opportunity levels. This uses a national measure called the Child Opportunity Index, and it looks at 16 different factors that really inform kind of systemic barriers or supports for young people to thrive. And similarly, where you see dark zip codes here, you would see lower levels of opportunity. We would anticipate that we would have higher levels of service delivery. And so for 2025, if you take a look, it's not perfect one-to-one, but what you will see generally is that we are serving where we would anticipate serving, meaning where there are more young people and where there are reduced levels of opportunity for the young people who live there.
And again, this is just highlighting our data dashboard, just went live on the 15th of July. So feel free to check it out. You can use the QR code, but it is a pretty fun tool that you can play with.
The last thing we wanted to highlight, and I realize it doesn't show up super well on this slide now, but some open funding opportunities as well as upcoming events. So currently we have an RFP for our Youth Healing Project open. That project is looking for both young people to lead projects with their peers around healing, mental health, substance use reduction, and also for organizations who can support those young people in those projects. We also have a couple exciting events coming up. Our Reconnect to Opportunity High School Resource Fair is always really fun. That's on August 20th at our Tukwila site. And then we have a Family Engagement Resource Fair as well. And both of those have links that can take you to more information.
And thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. That's really good work that you're doing and a great project. Council members, start with Councilmember Seal. Any questions or comments?
I don't have any questions other than, could you send Laurel a link to this PowerPoint? I mean, I remember when this all started back in 2016, we were just talking, has it been 10 years? Yes. It's just so exciting to see it come this far. And the number that you said, 10,240 in 5 years, that's a lot. So I'm thinking in 10 years, how many has it been? I mean, you do very, very good work. I am impressed and I'm grateful for the connection and the understanding you have of Tukwila because it is unique, and especially our kids. And the other thing I like about this is that you're serving the kids birth to 24. You know, I'm a mom, my kids are older, and just when they're 18, that doesn't mean they're adults. And there is something for that going out to 24 that really, I think it really makes a huge difference. So thank you for your presentation. Thank you for coming in. I can't believe it's been 10 years and it got Carrie in here. Hi, Carrie.
Shout out to Carrie Wade, who is our amazing community engagement manager.
I've known her for years. Anyway, thank you so very much. And please, if you could send that to Laurel, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Cruller.
Yeah, that was my request. So she kind of encapsulated, I'd like to get the information in hand somehow electronically. I'm the president of the Children's Foundation here in Tukwila, and I'm also on the Salvation Army's executive board for King County. You're everywhere. You're doing everything. I was also for 2 years on the school board for Tukwila. And I like to use the word ubiquitous for organizations like you, because every time I turn around, I see a program or an activity going on, and you're there behind it, sponsoring it, supporting it. The idea that prenatal support for people who have no other source of information can help these children have a better life from the very beginning. I just bless your hearts for that. We're involved, and other people are involved in watching closely what's going on with immigration enforcement. And it'll lead into some of the conversations we're having in the future here this evening, where people are homeless or can't afford things and they need a place to go. And you guys are finding ways to make that happen. And then I'll fall back on, I know that you have made a big difference in networking schools, so that at the time you started, if someone lived here for a year or two with their family and then they moved to Kent, they might be in a completely different place in second grade with their curriculum, and they were lost. And now there's a continuum between all of these school districts coordinated in King County because of the work that you do. I could go on all night. I just think you're the best, and I know Carrie is. Thank you. You didn't pay us for this.
Council President Bobby.
Thank you so much for your work. Really amazing. And I've participated in some of the programs that you've been mentioning as a staffer from the state level. I work in higher ed, and so I constantly see a lot of the work that you do. But I'm actually curious. You might have been presenting on the slide while I was trying to find the slides here in the papers, but I didn't find it, unfortunately. So maybe I missed this. But what does Tukwila's utilization look like in comparison to other cities?
So that's a really good question. I will say one of the limitations, this is the map of zip codes, and you can see where it's darker, you have a higher service level, service delivery level. What we don't do necessarily, unless we're doing a specific presentation like this one, is measure it at a city level, because so many cities have zip codes that overlap with one another. But you can sort of see in the map where the distribution of services lie. The other thing that I would encourage you to do, if you have, for example, a really particular interest, there's a lot of conversation about homelessness prevention and what to do when families are living unhoused, for example, is you can look on the data dashboard and break it down by the strategy. You can break it down by a number of other factors. And so you can, this is all aggregate, but you could look with a much more sort of detailed focus on areas that are of interest. And so I think that's a useful tool sometimes for policymakers also that is probably underutilized. I will say one other thing that we didn't present on is that Best Starts also funds a King County Health Survey for families of children. It's built on a statewide survey, but it is unique that we have a county-specific focus, and that is currently open. So we can send over some more information about that. What's great about it is it gives us population level data of what families are experiencing in our region, which sometimes looks really different than the overall state. So those are a couple of data tools that I think can sometimes be helpful.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember Martinez.
Thank you for your presentation. I missed the number when you talked about Tukwila. What were the numbers that you serve in Tukwila?
I can't see. I'm sorry. Okay. It's easier for me to see up there. Okay. Over 196 million has been awarded to organizations serving the city of Tukwila thus far.
Okay. Do you know the number of residents that were served? I can't see it.
Yeah, at least 10,240.
So half of our city.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So my next question, can cities apply for any funding and religious nonprofit groups under your organization?
That is a great question. We have had municipalities and religious organizations apply. I do believe there are some specific requirements that are in county code, not specific to Best Starts, about in particular, like religious organizations that might discriminate based on sexual orientation. I believe there's county code around that. I can follow up on that question and get back to you.
Yeah, it would be nice. And CC the whole council. And the only reason I'm saying that is because, if we can expand, our human services in Tukwila, that'd be great because, everybody is needing it these days.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hedrick.
Thank you guys so much. I know that Best Start for Kids is a huge supporter of Tukwila, and I so appreciate that with our very unique community. And I also know that you guys help our amazing human services department do a lot more with the very measly amount of money that we give them. So I appreciate that as well because they have a huge impact, and I wish we gave them more money. So thank you guys for all you do for our community.
Councilmember Camacho.
Appreciate the presentation. I work in education. I'm a teacher here at Foster High School, and we actually had the opportunity to partner with an organization that was receiving funds from Best Start for Kids. So our students got some outdoor leadership training from the organization. So I really appreciate that. And this opportunity that you all shared about for youth, mentoring and leading youth. Can you say it again?
Youth Healing Project?
Yeah. I think the most success I've seen with youth is with other youth. So I appreciate the opportunity of uplifting our youth and seeing them as leaders. So appreciate the work that y'all are doing.
Absolutely. I don't pick favorite programs, but if I did, that might be one of them.
It closes on August 14th.
We just extended the deadline.
Okay. Yeah. And school doesn't start until September. So getting the word out to youth, especially during the summertime, it's kind of a barrier, but
yeah,
appreciate that.
Councilmember Ho.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. Really, really appreciate it. Love the information that you are sharing with our community members and us as a council. I love seeing work like this, especially with the fact that we are constantly wanting to do better for our youth. It's very, very important to be able to support them that way. It gives them the motivation to want to have a brighter future. And it's really interesting that you guys came at this particular time because last week I was in a committee that focused on mental health and you guys actually were mentioned. And it's just really good to know that your work is really reaching people and reaching, different organizations. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for your presentation and I really appreciate the work you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Council, we will move down to the consent agenda. Just as a reminder, council members can always remove an item from consent. But before you have tonight's consent agenda, and I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a first and a second, so I'm looking for any questions or discussion. And on the vouchers, I understand we had two sets of vouchers to review by Councilmember Hedrick and Camacho. How did you find them?
Mr. Mayor, the set of vouchers I reviewed were in order.
And the set of vouchers I reviewed in order to. Thank
All right. Thank you very much. Not seeing any other questions, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nay or abstentions? Okay, the motion passes. We'll now move to our public hearing, a moratorium for correctional institutions and detention facilities. I am now opening the public hearing for the moratorium for correctional institutions and detention facilities. We will proceed with a staff report by Nora Gearloff, our director, and I thought Brenda Miles was going to be with you, but I don't see him.
I'm happy to carry this forward. Nora Gerloff, Director of Community Development. So this is a moratorium on an existing, a hearing on a moratorium that's existing. You approved it back in February. It will expire in August. And so we wanted to have a check-in with the council and the community about whether we thought there were additional time might be needed for additional study on topics related to the moratorium. And if so, then staff could begin to prepare that ordinance and work plan for you. So this came about because there was some talk about Department of Homeland Security looking for some additional detention facilities for people that have been arrested by ICE. And there was concern that that wasn't something that would fit well within our community. So we enacted a moratorium that took effect immediately. We had a subsequent hearing on that. And now we're nearing the end of that 6-month period. And so I wanted to raise some things that might be of concern or interest to the council that we could potentially need more time to review. So what some of those things were, should we refine the language in the moratorium to make it clear that it does not apply to mental health facilities, which have been raised by the council? Looking into what areas of the city would be appropriate for a detention center use. What impacts to city services would be expected from the establishment of a detention center use? What mitigation measures might be needed to address those impacts if one were established? Whether there's any areas of the city that lack the infrastructure needed to accommodate a large institutional use like this, and whether Tukwila already accommodated more than its regional fair share of essential public facilities on a per capita basis. So this evening, I was hoping to get some direction about the need for a moratorium and the content of that work plan that would be undertaken during that next 6 months. And then I also wanted to remind you that this isn't the final touch on this one. We would be coming back to you and there would be opportunities for additional discussion and tweaks on that. We're scheduled for August 17th at the moment.
City Clerk, is there anyone on site who was signed up to speak?
No one signed up.
Okay. Legislative analyst, are there any virtual commenters?
There are none.
The council, we will now be asking clarifying questions for staff with deliberation to follow under special issues. So I'll start with Councilmember Seal. Do you have any clarifying questions?
I don't have any clarifying questions. Thank you.
Council President Popian,
No questions.
Councilmember Martinez, Councilmember Hedrick,
No clarifying questions.
Councilmember Camacho.
Do we know if that new site is being occupied?
Whether they've established a site, I have not heard that.
Thank you.
Councilmember Ho.
No questions.
Okay, I am now closing the public hearing. And we will move on to unfinished business. Moratorium for correctional institutions and detention facilities discussion. So I don't know if you guys have any questions further that you want to ask or just discussion you want to have amongst yourself. As Director Gerloff said, you will have another chance in August to discuss. So I just am opening it up. Council members, do you have any discussion amongst yourself or thoughts you want to share? Councilmember Hedrick?
I would like differentiation between mental health and crisis providers and detention centers.
Are there other council members that would support that? Okay, I'm seeing a consensus or a majority of council members, so yes. Whatever that would, however you would make that distinction.
For that,
Okay, I'm not seeing any more or hearing any more. Then I guess that will finish it. We already did the public hearing, we've had our discussion, so I guess that's all we have for tonight. We'll be back again to talk about this before August 13th.
We would come back with an ordinance for you on August 17th, and if there were any other last minute things you wanted to add, you could do that then.
Okay. Thank you, Director Gerlach. Okay, we are now moving to, and are you staying seated because you're going to be part of the next one? Got it. An ordinance updating the City of Tukwila residential rental business license and inspection program requirements to include an incentive-based program. So I will entertain a motion to read by title only.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the ordinance be read by title only.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor of reading by title only, say aye.
Aye.
Any nay or abstention? Motion passes. City Clerk, can you read the ordinance by title?
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Tukwila, Washington, updating the City of Tukwila's residential rental business license and inspection program requirements to include an incentive-based program as codified at Tukwila Municipal Code Sections 5.06.050, inspection required, and 5.06140, certificate of compliance, validity, and renewal, and 5.06210, appeal, providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Okay, I forgot my spot here. Did we already vote to read it or to accept it?
Oh, Mr. Mayor, I move that the ordinance be approved as read.
Second.
Okay, we have first and a second. Now, is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nay or abstentions? Motion passes. Well done. Okay, now we've got to the magical 4C, of which we won't be doing item 1, 2, 3, 5, or 6. We will do though item 4, which is an ordinance amending various sections of the Tukwila Municipal Code, TMC Title 18 zoning, clarifying regulations, incorporating minor code amendments, and correcting errors. Is there a motion to read by title only?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we have the ordinance read by title only.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nay or abstentions? Motion passes. City Clerk, please read by the ordinance by title.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Tukwila, Washington, amending various sections of the Tukwila Municipal Code Title 18 zoning, clarifying regulations, incorporating minor code amendments, and correcting errors throughout the title, establishing TMC 18.58.065, temporary wireless communication facilities, and repealing TMC 18.50.045, height regulations around major airports, TMC 1870.130, cargo containers, and Figure 18-13 housing option program standards, providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
I'll accept a motion to approve as read.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the motion as read.
Second.
Sorry, the ordinance as read.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Council, is there any discussions that you'd like to have on this amongst yourselves or with staff? Seeing and hearing none, then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nay or abstention? Motion passes. We will now move to item D, 7D, an ordinance relating to camping on the city property, establishing a new chapter 8.41 of the Tukwila Municipal Code, chapter 8.41 camping regulations. So I believe Chief Lund is going to come up and give a little bit of a presentation. I want to say that as we start this conversation, keep in mind some of the great work the city as a whole has done and continues to do. You recall during the movement of asylum seekers through the city here that we provided tens of thousands of rooms for people in need. That, as was mentioned earlier, that we've got 3 tiny home villages in our city with about 100 units, which is per capita probably more than maybe for sure our neighboring cities. And we have a tremendous human services department headed by our director down there, Stacy Hansen. So as we talk about this stuff, keep those things in mind because those things we continue to do, have done, and they will continue to be part of who we are with our budgeting. Chief Lund, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Eric Lund, interim chief. Also with me is interim deputy chief Dale Rock. And I just going to go over again, just very baseline what this is. There's not much more than I talked about last Monday. Again, this isn't a solution to homelessness. It never was proposed to be a solution to homelessness. We are still going to offer services as much as we can. We're committed to offering referral services. We do a good job of it, just like the mayor just said. We have 2 mental health professionals on staff that work 7 days a week. They have a network outside of what was provided to you with information of what Allison sent and also some more information that Stacy sent. So a lot of services that are out there available for people. What we're trying to accomplish is when an individual refuses to leave an encampment on public property and police action becomes necessary, officers must operate within the strict legal framework governing the use of force in Washington State. So under RCW 10-120-020, permissible use of force, officers can use force, and that is, actually, let's back up. The definition of physical force is any act exerted upon a person's body to compel, control, constrain, or restrain the person's movement. We're allowed to use force when there's probable cause that the person has committed, is committing, or is about to commit the offense. So for all that to say, we need a crime to be able to move somebody out of an encampment. If we don't have that, we can't physically remove somebody, then the person stays. As far as arresting people, there's many different avenues something can happen when somebody gets arrested. Well, let me back up. This is, again, a last resort. You still have a choice. We've asked you to leave. We'll offer services. You've refused. Now you have a choice. Take services or leave, or that you can face jail time or getting arrested. Getting arrested doesn't mean you're going to jail. Getting arrested means you're detained, sometimes not even in handcuffs. Sometimes you are in handcuffs. Sometimes you are issued a citation to appear in court. Sometimes you're brought to the police station to be released at a later time. Sometimes you are booked into school. There's a lot of different options. So arresting somebody for this doesn't mean that they're going to jail. Other than that, I don't want to take up a lot of time with me talking. I'd rather just answer questions. And I'm sure there's a lot of them. So I'll stop there and answer any questions.
Okay, I'll let the council now give comment or questions. I'll start with Councilmember Seal.
Okay. All right. It's not often that I have a lot to say, but I feel I have a lot to say about this. First of all, I want to say 2 things before we get started. There is no way that we know that everybody who is sleeping in a tent has addiction issues or mental health issues. We don't know that. We don't know that. Second of all, people who are living in our city who happen to be sleeping in our city in a park, they're residents of this city. And we have a duty to protect them as well. So I know we've heard a lot of things tonight where people, they say it's our duty to protect our citizens and our residents. To me, that includes everybody. And I think we had that discussion when we were talking about our asylum seekers. We have a duty to protect everybody in our community. So just bear with me here. I don't think this is about whether we care about public safety. I really don't. I support keeping our parks, our sidewalks, and public spaces safe and accessible. The question before us is not whether or not we should address encampments. It's whether or not making camping a misdemeanor and therefore a crime. And the Supreme Court gave us permission, but it didn't say that we had to do it, right? That policy decisions belongs to us, and I think that's what we're talking about. I think criminal law should be used when it's necessary. Whenever we create a new crime, we should ask one simple question: is criminal prosecution actually necessary to solve the problem? I'm not convinced that that's the case. We've heard that this would be used in a case of in last resort. We have heard that we've had one individual that wouldn't move on. We have dealt with our encampments. Yes, we have spent thousands of dollars cleaning up our encampments, and we've relied on, I had it pulled up here, just bear with me for a minute on, and have a chance to permit it. We have codes and laws. We have trespass warnings on city property, nuisance abatement, right-of-way use, park rules and regulations, and environmentally critical areas. Also, when this was first talked about, I believe it was in March at a work session, we talked about our park ranger. That just got started this year. I'd like to see what this park ranger can do. And towards this issue, right? And then the other thing too is our neighboring cities, to me, tell a very interesting story. Kent, Berrien, and Auburn have had this on the books for quite a while. Homelessness knows no borders, right? We still have homeless people in these jurisdictions. To my knowledge, I mean, I have not actually called up their police department, but from the research that I've done, they've never enacted it. They've never used it. Again, I remember, you know, I'm going to look at Councilmember Duffy out there. I remember lots of discussions that we've had over the almost 20 years that I've been up here at some point about why do we have a law or a rule or an ordinance that we're not going to use? I know it's an option. So, you know, Kent, Berrien, they have similar ordinances. If cities can manage these situations without criminal prosecution, why should Tukwila create a misdemeanor offense that we hope to never use? Question. If we don't intend to arrest people, then why are we doing this? But we may arrest somebody, and I understand that. The other thing that I think about is I have assurances from Interim Chief Lund. I have assurances from other people I've talked to. This is going to be the last resort. I know Mayor McLeod. I know Interim Chief Lund, and I know our PD. Where's my assurance that we're not going to have an administration change and that's all going to go out the window? Because we can see from the elections on the federal level just what can happen when we think that's never going to happen. I mean, I don't know how many of you are kind of thinking like, what's going on out there in the world? Was this on my bingo card for 2026? No. We've talked about this. A misdemeanor has lasting consequences. A criminal conviction doesn't disappear after somebody leaves the park. You know, we can say, yes, we might not put them in handcuffs. If we book them in or not book them in or take them in, you know, the judge will hear the case the next morning. What if it's a Friday? They're going to spend a couple nights in jail. And one could say, well, yeah, now they got a roof over their head, but then at the same time, they could be awfully demeaning. And if you are suffering from mental health issues, it could be very devastating. So to me, I would rather invest in solutions that work. What are those solutions? I don't really know, but I think we really need to take a good look at it. Yeah, I believe in accountability. I believe in keeping public spaces safe. But I also believe we should be very careful before creating a new criminal offense. The Supreme Court has said we have the authority to do this. Side note, read the dissenting opinion. 71 pages. There's a story in there. There was an amicus brief filed by a veterans group, which they had a gentleman that had been arrested 200 times. He said, all I want is to keep my possessions. Once they got him into housing, never arrested again. Read the dissent. I mean, this doesn't mean that it's the best policy for Tukwila. If our neighboring cities rarely or never need to arrest people under similar ordinances, and if our own expectation is that enforcement will continue to focus on voluntary compliance and outreach, then I have to ask, what problem are we actually solving? Until I can answer that question, I can't support making homelessness a misdemeanor. Thank you.
Councilmember Crawler.
Couple questions. People keep saying there's only been one instance, but I think I heard you say no more than one a year.
The one I'm referring to was pretty well published in social media. That was somebody that refused to leave, and we couldn't make her leave, and we left. We left her there. We left her encampment there, and it eventually washed into the river when we had flooding.
Right.
So that was the incident I was talking about. I don't have stats on that. I do know that we do offer a lot of these services to people. We offer housing. We have the tiny houses. People, that person specifically had been kicked out of tiny houses twice. So we try our best, but what we're trying to accomplish, what the problem we're trying to solve is, should the police department be there to move people along after everything's been done to try to help them? That's the problem we're trying to solve, because if not, then the police department shouldn't be trying to move people along. They'll have to be somebody else.
So when I was running for this position, most recently, third to concerns about affordability, because things had changed, concerns about taxes. The third thing in line was public safety, and the number one comment was literally from one neighborhood to another, people could point out encampments that they felt were too close to their neighborhood. And I would just say, okay, I'll take it into advisement. I'll see what, we do. Do you still have a team who specializes in going out to engage with folks either independently, unhoused in cars on a property, or in a collective inside of an encampment?
We have a team that has a lot of responsibilities, and that's one of them.
And you did a video a few years back on it. They have all the same capacities where they go out and they follow up and they try to offer services and make a number of approaches.
We're organized a lot different than when that video was made.
Okay. So what's there now?
It's our special emphasis unit, and they're involved in investigating drug crimes, human trafficking, arresting or locating violent offenders, and homeless outreach. We also, like I said, are mental health professionals.
Mhm.
They focus on that as well. They go out on their own and reach out. But again, when they don't take the services, then the MHPs will reach out to us and say, we've tried everything. There's nothing left for us to try to help with. We'll try again, but kind of at the end of our road. So,
Okay, I got a couple more questions, which are, we've supplied you with a couple of 4x4s. Do you still have those to make it up Green River Trail and other places? Like,
the Polaris?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have one.
still, okay,
Yes.
so you got at least
Yeah,
one
we
where
still
you
use
still patrol and take a look and talk.
Yes.
We have a former council member who is, as far as I'm concerned, still a council member, who is out running on routinely. And she was so frightened by one incident, just running on the trail, that she got on the phone, called her husband to come get her. And you all know her. And she is a force to be reckoned with. For her to be chilled by anything going on the trail should tell you that when you say, well, let's put a 60-year-old out there, or an 80-year-old, or somebody on a bicycle, or somebody with 2 kids, these are the things that we're contending with. The question was, what are we trying to solve? It's simple. We're jurisdiction. I don't look at solving for housing. I'm on 2 of the advisory boards for Lehigh. And I was a major force working with Joe Duffy on getting the first 2 in, and I go to the church where the third one's at. So I believe in the housing solutions we provide. I still believe the way I did last time, that housing is a human right. We're all going to lay our head down every night. We're all going to eat food. We're all going to have water, and we all need a resource to use the restroom. All of us do. So if we just look the other way, I agree with you, Councilmember Steele. They're not just guests in our city. They are what I consider our neighbors. And when we engage and try to help and do what we can, and we aren't able to find a perfect fit for housing for them, but they're either, I would assume, and I should just flat ask you, when would you engage and put somebody in cuffs? What are they doing? Are they endangering others or themselves, or what's going on?
If they're endangering themselves or others, that's a different topic for discussion. That's something we can already address. But oftentimes, the people that we encounter don't meet that threshold, so we cannot involuntarily commit them.
Right.
When would somebody, it just depends on their level of cooperation. I've arrested more people in my career than I can count where I didn't put them in handcuffs for different crimes. So it just depends on their level of cooperation, or if it's a mandatory booking, then they're going to go into handcuffs, but that's not what we're talking about here.
So in parallel with Councilmember Seal, I looked at this and with the question of what are we trying to solve? We aren't trying to solve anything other than, as a jurisdiction, fulfill the fact, complete and acknowledge our rights as a jurisdiction. We're not a town. We're not a Native American sovereign tribe. We're not New York City. We're Tukwila. And only recently, from a Supreme Court decision, we were given a right within our jurisdiction to do something if we need to. I think probably one of the questions we're going to have back from you at some point, if we do or don't pass this tonight, is, are you going to have a consistent, I see a policy here, but are you going to have a consistent decision point for your team to understand when they would or would not use this option?
Absolutely.
Do you have an idea what that is now?
Well, they always have discretion, but they understand what the problem is that we're trying to solve. And they also understand that taking somebody to jail doesn't solve the underlying problem, which could be a number of things. That's how we operate now. I don't think it would change.
So I'm in support of this. I do so with great reserve. I want us to have the rights as a jurisdiction to do what jurisdictions have rights to do. I don't think we will overstep. I'm not worried about the future because I know councils can always amend this or take it off the book again. It's not working for us. But what we're venturing into is a space and a right that we've never had. And I want to make sure our police department is as equipped as anybody else's. Thank you.
Council President Popian.
Thank you. I believe there's two things we're trying to accomplish here today. One is keeping our waterways clean, and the second one is trying to give help to those who possibly need it. So I'm curious, there was a question that was posed towards me, and I want to ask this question to you, Chief Lund. If someone's currently, majority of individuals living in homeless encampments are drug abusers, and I'm curious, currently meth and those type of drugs are illegal. Why is it that we can't follow this kind of policy and give them the possible support that they need, as in get them to rehab?
The question is, why can't we get them to rehab?
Yes.
We can offer it, and we do that all the time, but we can't force anybody to go to rehab.
And I think that's a big question that I'm dealing with, because when I look at this issue, that is something that I'm considering quite a bit. I think here at the City of Tukwila, we worked on a number of initiatives to prove that we are trying to increase affordability, that we are trying to increase housing. I know one thing I'm really proud of, that the City of Tukwila created zoning for small, tiny homes. I was also part of that just as a resident, as a nonprofit leader. We expanded the number of units allowed in those small, tiny home villages. We even funded some of those projects as a city. We brought the Bellwether project to Tukwila. We added the social workers through the Tukwila PD. I also worked on the minimum wage campaign here in the City of Tukwila. We have the highest minimum wage in the nation, one of the lowest rents in the region. And I say this, I think we're still not doing enough. We should continue on doing a lot more. I mean, every possible way. And this is, I see there are people here, and if you want to work with us as elected with us elected officials, I'm happy to meet with you all and have a conversation. I mentioned this at the last meeting. I visited Mary's place. I think they run a phenomenal shelter, and I would be happy to work with them and bring something like that to Tukwila. Yes, correct. And I'd be happy to expand that work further. And with that being said, although with all of that, we are facing a couple of issues. One is last year we spent $300,000 for cleanups. That's a lot for a small city like Tukwila. I think we can be redirecting those resources to actually helping those people who need it. And let me put this in other words also. I mean, I shared this with the council last meeting. I had a cousin where I had to see her dead body in front of me. That was the hardest thing in my life. She's the same age as I am today. And she gone through homelessness and no one helped her out. Her mother begged. She said, please arrest her. At least I will know where she is. She cried for 10 years until she was raped and she died in those tents. No one can tell me that this is an easy thing for anyone on this council. Even though I disagree with my council member Seal, I still understand where she's coming from, and I hope people understand where I'm coming from too on this issue. That's all I ask, honestly. I actually think this will save potentially lives in our city, because the way I see this is actually in a way where our police reach out to the people who are experiencing homelessness, and those who are experiencing drug abuse will go through the courts, and then the Judge Walden, who's a phenomenal court judge in our state, even in the country, I would say, I think she will redirect them to the right resources to rehab, hopefully. I really do think there will be two options. Do you want jail or do you want rehab? I really do not want them to go to rehab. That is absolutely not my intention at all. I really hope they pick the rehab way. And I've had way too many family members who've been impacted by this drug abuse going on in our society. And I feel like we've also normalized it so much that we're okay with it. I mean, how many of us have walked in downtown Seattle or even in Tukwila and seen someone homeless and we haven't said anything? Way too many times. And I really think this is a way to do the outreach. I really do think. And if I see a single drop of that we're abusing this rule in any way, I will come back to the council immediately. But I really do trust that the mechanisms that we have already in place to ensure that we're helping the people who need it the most. And one thing I do actually want to ask is if there was any possibility, because yes, I do think people can become homeless in many ways. And yes, majority of the individuals who are in encampments are drug abusers. However, there are very, very few who are not. And I do still want to respect their rights in many ways too. I wonder if there's a way that if it costs us $300,000 to do worth of cleanups, if we can budget $100,000 aside and give 2 nights of stays for those specific individuals who are not drug abusers. I'd want to give them some support, and then we have the social workers here at the city who can reach out and give them that additional guidance on where they could find housing, job, or whatever it is that they might be experiencing and need. That is my only ask. I think that sounds reasonable to me. I come from a humanitarian perspective on this issue, not in any way to criminalize this. And yes, even in the books, it does say 90 days, and then the fine. The Judge Walden will never fine. I don't believe Judge Walden will ever fine anyone $1,000, even though that's what's in the books. Yes, I understand that. But that's where I come from. Thank you for listening to me. I really appreciate everyone's perspective on this.
Councilmember Martinez.
Thank you. I appreciate all the comments from our fellow council members. Last week I mentioned that I helped iHeart Seattle clean up the Gilman Creek last year, and I equate yards to tons. So they did 15 yards/tons of removal of debris while the homeless people were still in their camps, and they were eating the donuts and the pizza while we were cleaning up. our donuts and our pizza. The reason I say this is because I'm unique. I am the only council member here that lives right next to a park. And the property line is right on the park. I don't live across the street. I live right next to it. During the COVID, we had some trees fall in my yard. It belongs to the park. The fence fell down. During that period of time, before I could fix it, jerry rig it up, I had 2 thefts in my wife's vehicle and 1 theft in one of my trucks. And I have mechanical equipment at my house. They were trying to steal the copper electrical cables for my welders. This is because they're feeding a habit, and they continue to do that. We have a dog. We have more cameras now. And I don't care I don't care how compassionate we are. We have to address the issue that some of these people will not choose the services if asked. Again, it's tough for me because the wife and I do a lot of volunteer work, and we donate a lot of money, non-taxable money we donate to charities for the simple reason that we want our footprint to be better on this earth for our children. I felt very uncomfortable letting my grandsons play up front for a while in my lower front yard. It's tough. I get it. I do know that we need some type of mechanism to help our community feel safer. A majority of the people that I talk to are senior citizens, and all of them, every single one of them, want some type of comfort to know that they're going to be safe walking down in their parks. We had a former council member last week speak about him being accosted in the park that I live right next door to, property line right next door. He got accosted by a couple of homeless individuals, and without his dog, he felt very uncomfortable. So it's not a make-believe issue that we're dealing with. And if you really look at the property lines around the community, most of the people that live around that are bounded by property of the parks, most of them are senior citizens, and most of them want to feel comfortable. Like me, I want to feel comfortable, have my grandkids play in my own yard. I don't feel safe. I didn't feel safe for a while until we added more cameras. So I get it, and it still will not stop me from still doing the outreach and helping members of our community. We do that through our church. This is a tough one for everybody, without a doubt. But again, if you have your property line right next to a park and you're a senior citizen, you don't feel comfortable when you know there's encampments going on. I will say that there were some steps made in my park. They removed a bench, and it removed one of the people, because he was sleeping on it all the time. But it still doesn't stop me from having to lock everything I own in my own, in my own property to save it from being borrowed or to help a substance problem. I truly believe that they don't have mental health issues. I truly believe that the people that are doing this have a substance abuse problem. That's the price I pay for living right next door to a park. I think as a senior citizen, and as all the community members that I've talked to, and I meet with 3 senior groups a week, they're all in favor of some type of assistance to help our law enforcement move things along. Thank you.
Councilmember Hedrick.
My comments are going to be a little bit different. First of all, I think that this is a subject that affects all of us. The price I pay for living across the street from a park is that people dump their apartments in the parking lot and then go and put lampshades on their heads and try to enter my home at 2 and 3 a.m. I also have a dog. I have 2 dogs, over 100 pounds. Does that help? Yes. Are people scared because they're big and sound scary? Yes. Does it stop people from trying? No. My neighbors have had their houses broken into and their garages broken into with tools stolen, also with people from the park. I would say that I have a direct view into the park at all times and I see what's happening. With that being said, and without stating an opinion on this ordinance, I also want to say that I'm really disappointed, again, that the MHPs or FD cares or the court liaison is not here to answer questions for us. I think this is the third time we've had this presentation in the last month, and I think I've asked for them to be here again. And I have a whole laundry list of questions that I would like to ask a professional about that I don't have the resources to do right now. And without having that resource at this time, I don't feel like I am able to state an opinion or able to make a vote on this. And if they were here and I could ask them questions directly, then I think I would have a different feeling about that. But I feel like this is the same presentation that we've been given before, and that a lot of it is based on trust us to do the right thing. And that's not how I operate. I operate on data and facts, and I want to be shown things. And I don't feel like I've been given that pathway to being shown. And that it's more based on well, we would only use it in a this. But situations change, and we know from our flock cameras and our policy on not sharing with Adams County that their communication and the views do not trickle down the same, or else that situation wouldn't have happened. And so I don't feel ready to vote on this topic right now, or to state an opinion on it. And I'm disappointed that I feel like I wasn't given the tools to do that. And that's where I'm going to end this right now.
Can I ask a question? I wasn't asked to have an MHP attend the meeting, so I don't know where that question was directed to.
We asked in CSS and I asked last week.
She wasn't available last week, and I relayed that. Just wasn't available. And she's not our employee. You got to remember, we contract with Sound Mental Health. So I wasn't asked to have her here tonight. But if there's some questions, she did do a presentation in February that had a lot of those questions answered. I think
5 months ago.
But I think a lot of the information is the same.
But there's no one here to confirm that. And again, that's a trust us that nothing has changed in the last 5 months. But a lot has changed in the last 5 months.
Before we move on, I just want to give a chance to Stacy Hansen, who works on Human Services. Is there anything you could give to this conversation right here? And if not, it's okay. I'm asking you on the spot. Okay. We'll keep going here. Councilmember Camacho.
Great, thank you. I've had the opportunity to listen to you all and then the other council members talk about or answer the question, what is the goal or what's the issue that the ordinance is trying to solve? And I've kept track also from folks who provided public comment. One of the issues that the ordinance is trying to solve is we're trying to get people into services. We're holding on to a jurisdictional right. There's an environmental, we're trying to save the environment by stopping people from putting stuff into the river. We want to be able to use force when someone refuses to leave. We want to give help to people who need it, and we want to keep our waterways clean. So I've heard a lot of different issues that this ordinance is trying to solve. And I just want to give you all a chance again to clearly define what is the issue or what are we trying to do with this ordinance?
The main thing is the force. The statute in our state, and I read that at the beginning, was we're required to have probable cause that a crime was committed. And when we're talking about force, we're talking about just a simple, let's go, it's time to leave. That's force in our state. And if an officer is found to violate the law when they're using force, they lose their certification and they lose their job. So that's the main thing that I'm worried about. is there is no underlying crime when we are telling somebody that they need to go after we've offered them services, we've tried to help, and they've refused. It comes to a point where, okay, we need to clean up this area. You have to leave. And if they refuse, then we have to move them. Right now, we can't legally do that.
Because removing someone by force is an extreme measure. You have to make sure that there's an underlying crime, that there's an ordinance that they are breaking or something's going on.
The state law says they have to be probable cause that a crime was committed.
So we should be in alignment here that the underlying cause or the issue that this ordinance is trying to solve is to allow police use of force to forcibly remove someone from an encampment.
In order to clean up.
In order to clean up.
Yes.
Gotcha. Do we think that is Tukwila PD? Earlier you mentioned something around like, should the police be doing this? Do you feel like Tukwila PD is the entity that should be addressing folks in encampments?
There's a lot of different models out there. Addressing encampments, like the providing resources, no, I don't believe we are. But at the end of the day, when somebody refuses, the police are always called to deal with it. In Bellevue, they have 3 full-time people that work for the mayor's office that just deal with this situation, try to help people. At the end of the day, if the people don't leave, they call the Bellevue Police Department to come do the same thing that we have to do. So that was a long answer to say, yes, I think there's better options out there than the police department to deal with this. But when it comes to moving somebody, we're about it.
You're the last call that someone makes, the last resort, which is the language that I've heard from the city administrator too. So it sounds like there could be, other cities have allocated resources to address folks living in encampments, like the example that you gave is Bellevue. They have multiple full-time staff who their role and responsibility is to go out into the community. Councilmember Kroller brought up a video that was posted of Tukwila PD interacting with folks who are experiencing homelessness. I've seen that video too. I appreciate that you brought that up. And then you stated that the folks, that role no longer exists. Now it's within someone else's role that has a multitude of other responsibilities.
It's still the police department. The unit that was in place at the time the video was produced doesn't exist anymore, but there's still detectives that's part of their role of their job is to address homeless encampments and other issues as well.
What was that unit called?
The previous unit was the crime prevention team. And now they're called the special emphasis unit.
And why was the crime prevention team dissolved, or why was it moved over?
We had to combine, we had 2 units. We had a crime prevention team and we had a TAC team. A lot of acronyms here, but TAC team was mainly drugs. CPT was crime prevention and outreach, stuff like that. And then a lot of this had to do with our staffing, and a lot of it had to do with the Blake decision where drugs were made legal. There was no work for our TAC team to do because there were no cases for them to investigate. We decided to reorganize the unit and combine them into one. So now they do crime, or they do outreach, they do drug investigations, they do, like I said, all the other stuff that we talked about.
At one point, the crime prevention team was so successful that it required a social media post or a video to be made to show this is the good work that our police department is doing to make contacts and make meaningful outreach in the community. Now that the shift has been made, do you know like an average amount of time that is spent on outreach with this new team?
With the team specifically?
With that new unit, or?
It's probably about 1 day a week. Not including the MHPs. They're not part of that team. So they go out regularly once a week and check on the known encampments and look for any others that might have been constructed since the last time they were out. But it's not, there's other things they have to do as well. So it's not consistent.
And the MHPs go out on their own, or they're always like a co-responder?
Both. Okay. They've asked to go out on their own, and they do. They feel comfortable doing that.
So if this ordinance passes and someone is arrested, they have camping materials set up, what happens to the belongings of the folks that are arrested?
we're required to store the property for, it's a weird number, 72 days. Might be wrong on that. Over 2 months. So there's a number of days we're required to keep their belongings that's not perishable. So we already do that. We keep their items in safekeeping, they can come retrieve it.
Gotcha. And one of the questions that I heard earlier from public comment is how are folks supposed to comply with this ordinance if there's limited or no capacity in shelters?
Well, they could accept services. There is capacity, there is services, there is housing. Like we said before, we have reserved beds with a Lehigh. I think there's 12 at 2 of the locations. There is the center in Seattle, Crisis Solutions Center, I believe it's called. I think we provided some information to you that talks about different housing options that are available. We've even driven somebody to Mount Vernon to get them shelter. So, I mean, we do a lot, not just local, but we try everything we can to help them.
I was looking at our ordinances that are in place already, and Councilmember Seal brought up some of them. How often are trespass warnings given to folks?
So the thing about, well, to answer your question, often, but not for encampments. The thing about trespassing is there has to be a crime that was committed for us to trespass somebody from public property, or dangerous activity.
What I have here is behavior that's unreasonably disruptive to others. So I do see the language in our ordinance around illegal behavior, but I also see behavior that's unreasonably disruptive to other users. So behavior that is inconsistent with the use for which the city property was designed or intended to be used. So if someone is setting up an encampment on public property, why would that not fall into behavior that's unreasonably disruptive to others?
It could, but again, this statute says you can issue a trespass warning.
Right.
Right.
So you give the person an opportunity to move or find.
Right. We
different
already kind of do that. We don't issue trespass warnings. We just.
But you have this tool. You are able to issue a trespass warning if someone is using a city property in a way that it wasn't designed or intended to be used. I'm also seeing that these trespass warnings can be given if there's a violation of city ordinance, right? State statute, government rules or regulations, or if that conduct is dangerous, illegal, disruptive, or disruptive to other users. So what we've heard are examples of folks who are on trails having to call their husband, or people who, we got some emails about folks who have been around people who are experiencing homelessness and felt uncomfortable. Those folks can issue a civil report, and PD can act on that based on our current ordinance.
Yeah. Yes.
So we have the tools in place. We have a last resort that we can give someone a trespass warning. Why do we need to elevate this to a camping ban?
So a lot of times when we're working on cleaning up an encampment, it's a coordination between us, parks, and public works. And we have a date. The people that are in the encampment know you have this date you have to leave. If they don't comply, the crews are coming in to clean up. What this does, the trespass warning, we have to wait another 7 days.
Right.
So we could
Is that
do
too long?
Depends on who you ask.
It gives, I feel like that's ample time for someone to seek services, to make contact with our regional partners.
Right, but by that point, we've already been offering services for 2 or 3 weeks, and they've said no. I don't know what the difference would be at that point.
A trespass warning doesn't allow you to use force, right?
A warning does not, no.
So it does not meet the goal of the ordinance. The goal of the ordinance is so that PD can forcibly remove someone from a place that we do not want them. A public place where they're camping.
Yes.
And we can also, or we can issue them a trespass warning. And we have the mechanisms in place right now.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, a little bit about, I mentioned a couple times about this roundtable discussion that you had with Lehigh and with Salvation Army, which I think it would be great to have some of those community partners come and tell us more about their perspective. I think in CSS, in our committee, and in the previous couple meetings, it's all been led by PD. And I feel like this ordinance is really being advocated for by PD. You've stated very clearly what you hope this ordinance will solve. And I think working with our regional partners, like what we heard from Lehigh today, what we heard from the Coalition on Homelessness from Seattle and King County, we have regional partners who are ready and willing to be at the table to discuss these are things that we can do collaboratively. Because I don't think that we can solve this. I don't think Tukwila by ourselves, although the mayor brings up a really great point about all the great things that we've done. We've got 3 tiny villages. We've got a human services department that works their tail off. I appreciate you. We don't have to do this alone. We can, and we can choose to work with our partners regionally to come up with a solution. We have folks in Burien who sent all of us an email saying, we're ready to sit at the table and figure out what can we do as a neighboring city. So I think what we can do is we can really start investing in some of those proven strategies that we've seen from Lehigh. I think really shining a light on the successes that we've had with tackling homelessness in our community. We've seen that and we've celebrated it as a city. How do we continue doing that without making it illegal to be homeless, without fining folks, without putting them in jail? So I think for me, there's some clear next steps that include collaboration with our regional partners, the experts. I'm not an expert. I don't know what's going on, but I do know that kids in my class are experiencing homelessness. And when I brought up the question about youth being impacted, there are no youth outside, or there are no youth sleeping outside right now. I don't know if that's to be true. And we actually heard from some of the speakers today that they have seen youth in tents. And we got an email from a community member who talked about a homeless family with a baby and a toddler in their tent. So we know that there are youth right now, and we have the highest population of youth experiencing homelessness in our school district. So we have an issue that we need to solve. And I don't know if I can go into my classroom when school starts up in September with youth experiencing homelessness in my class, knowing that I serve on city council and that we passed an ordinance that said, if you're sleeping outside, it's illegal.
Most of those specific examples you talk about, they do accept services, right?
Right.
I think they do.
Great. Perfect. I think that's what folks want. I don't know if anyone wants to stay outside or use the restroom outside. We're talking about meeting basic human needs, and we can do that in collaboration with those community partners. I want to make one more comment. Sorry, I'm going to move on. I want to make one more comment around the environmental impact of individuals along the riverbed. We live in the Duwamish River Valley, where Boeing and other major corporations have been polluting our river and our environment for decades. I think the difference is we're allowing large corporations that have a ton of money to get away with it. And as soon as you have someone who is down in their luck, not as wealthy, an individual, we focus so much on that person or those people because we've othered them. Even today from my council members, Councilmember Crowler, thank you for giving us this dignity index card. Even how we talk about people experiencing homelessness. Here's an example. They're not even human. It's our moral duty to destroy them before they destroy us. That's not what I heard today, but what I'm hearing is that sentiment. What I'm hearing is like, it's us versus them. I don't feel safe when these people are around. I think we can do a lot with our community partners, and that's my suggestion.
Councilmember Ho.
My heart feels very heavy when I'm talking about this discussion, just because for days and a couple weeks now, we have been getting lots and lots and lots of community input, whether it's in person, whether it's through an email. We've all been reading them. We all have been hearing each and every person's response in terms of whether to be supportive about it, to not to be supportive about it, because everybody has their own experience as to why they choose the things that they do. This is an issue, and again, like our Chief Lund right now said, this is not something that is supposed to solve homelessness. And this is something that we have been dealing with for a very, very long time. And we've tried a lot of different ways. We put funding towards resources to get people the need that that is required to either get them off of the streets or to help them with, the mental crisis that they're having or the addiction that, either they didn't have, but because of homelessness, started to happen because they were in a situation where they had no choice. In my own community, in the city, even my family, we've dealt with a lot of things that has to do with homelessness. Because of the fact that people are homeless, they had to choose other avenues just to survive. Like some of the council members said, in order to feel safe, they had to install cameras, lots and lots of cameras to make sure that their family is protected at night. There's nights when I've seen my own property being vandalized and feeling like I was in a situation where I was taken advantage of. But I knew in my heart that because it's a situation that they were put in or not because they chose it, that they had to do the things that they did. However, at the same time as well, the fact that I am sitting here in a position that people have wanted me to because they want me to make change in the city and to protect the ones that live in the city. There's times when situations and decisions that we have to make is just really hard. But I will personally say, my parents are not, I wouldn't call them elderly because they're in their late 50s going into their 60s. But because of experience that my mom has had, she is not physically in her capacity of her age to sometimes protect herself. She can't do the most basic and simple things as running to a store and getting necessities by herself and feeling safe to do it. There are times when I have to accompany her. And these things are still happening where there's a sense where I feel I am about 20 seconds away from someone having to attack either me or my mom because again, they're in a situation where they can't control. I am a big, strong believer in advocating for people who are in need. When it comes to mental health, when it comes to an addiction, I go through some of these things myself. I go through a mental illness myself. I don't, there's times when it's very hard to share, but when I feel like I need to share these things, I do. Because I do care and I do see things from both of the coins and both of the sides and the situation as a whole. But there's times it's very hard to me to have to justify whether or not my mom is going to leave that door coming back or not. I also don't believe that to be homeless is a crime. However, in order for us to move the needle, sometimes we do have to make sacrifices and there are risks that we just have to take. One of the reasons why I chose the city of Tukwila to live in is because I truly saw the impact that this city, those who live in it, those who service it, has really made a big impact. Which is why I myself didn't only just plant my roots here, my whole community, different generations have slowly planted their own roots here because they truly see and believe the same things that I do. And I want to continue to be able to inspire other people like that as well, to make sure that this place is safe for each and every person, regardless of their situation. But sometimes I also know I need a push to get things done. I need a push to motivate myself. But the real question is, what is that? I do feel like with the fact that if we do pass this ordinance, it does give the people who serve our community the liability to safely do their job. I also do feel that sometimes because I myself need that push, sometimes people in situations also can't see the things that they need in order to also push and motivate themselves. I will always be a person who will advocate for the resources that are necessary to change things for everybody in a positive way. And I know that it's because of the fact that we are having a huge housing crisis right now, not just in the city and not just in the state, but nationwide, that we need to continue to work even harder to push for this situation when it comes to our housing crisis. And so I'm hoping that with the funding that us as taxpayers are pouring into situations like this, funding that we are using for other avenues, such as having to clean up an encampment, I want to be able to apply those funding into a situation like housing in order to make change. And I kind of have the same mindset like a lot of my council members on here as well, in the sense where I am always wanting to have the discussion and will be willing to have the discussion to change things, to implement things, if that really is the case, where we have realized that a choice that we made, a decision that we make today is really, truly not working. I will always be the first person to go ahead and have that discussion. And other than the fact that I am a council member, just like all the other 6 here, I am a resident first to this city. So before anything else, I will always sit here and have conversations with people, because we all live here and we all deserve the basic needs of being in the city. And I know sometimes, the things I say may not resonate with some people. And I understand that. And that, again, is also a tough pill to also swallow. I really do. But one of the things that I have always advocated for is public safety. And I think this is also a part of public safety.
Okay, council members, thank you. I tried to give you space to share your thoughts. We will, I think I do need to extend at 10. Is that right? Do I need to ask for a motion to extend?
Mr. Brown, I move that we extend this meeting to 11 o'clock.
Oh.
10:30? It's 10.
I second.
Yeah, she's just saying we can go that long.
No longer than 11 o'clock.
Okay.
We're going to wrap up.
Okay, well, I have a motion on the table, a first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
You vote.
extending the meeting. Yes. I'm tired.
We're not pooped, are we?
Okay, yeah, my day starts
Okay,
at, yeah, I've
then-
got to be up at 5 tomorrow too.
There's a
Okay.
majority to extend.
Yeah, I can change mine to yes.
Yes.
No, I don't.
I know one council member asked to say something more. I would just ask, can you keep it brief, please?
I'll go real quick. I just wanted to say, some of you know about the Journey Project, and a couple of years back, they gave us calls, police, ourselves, other people, because next to them in the ravine, which was public, there was a massive amount of an encampment. So bad that when they reported to me, I actually went on Google and you could see it from space, the blue tarps. And they had been there for about 4 to 6 months. And Journey Project is all about people who have been released from prison, trying to avoid drugs and alcohol and activities that are nefarious. And it was all going on right next door. Plus, everything we talked about in Camp and Spring in terms of pollution, needles of trouble. City decided together, the council authorized, I think it was about 185,000, probably ended up being more. We blocked off a street on Tukwila International Highway, and we need to clear that out. But I know that you gave them a ton of warning that they had to clear out for this construction activity, and few of them refused to go. And we're sitting there holding on to resources, waiting for them to give the city permission to clean up its own park. and this very naturalized area, that would be a situation where I would believe would be okay for us to go in and say, you know what? You can't be here. Right? You can have your bag of your ID and whatever you want to take with you, but you can't be here because it's dangerous for you, us, and the neighbors and the business on the other side. It's not okay anymore. And that, by the way, flows down into the Gillian Culver and so forth. So I want to give that example so people understand. I don't think that's your example, but I think that is an example where people go, look, do they own Tukwila? And we're not throwing them out. We're saying we got services, we want to help you, we want to move you, but it's not safe for you to be here. And we ought to have the right to say at some point, you have to move. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Seal.
Yeah, just one more thing. I just want to reiterate two things. Number one, not everybody who lives in a tent abuses drugs. Not everybody who might be sleeping under a pine tree, has mental health issues. Over the years, as a mom raising kids in Tukwila, my oldest is 36, I've had many kids live with me for a long time. One of them I found sleeping in my backyard. So, and that person did not have mental health issues, and nor were they doing drugs. I just feel like I need to say that come full circle. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Camacho.
Just want to also emphasize that we heard from Interim Chief Lund, that we have a mechanism with with trespass warnings to handle a situation like what we saw on this property. And I think that's an extra week is the trespass warning, right?
Well, there has to be an underlying offense before we can issue a trespass warning. Like you said, you mentioned what was stated in the statute. I don't know, it's kind of hard to define. We're talking about, I want to say the specific words you said, prohibiting conduct that is dangerous, illegal, unreasonably disruptive to other users of city property. So how do you define that?
I think we've heard it.
I'm not asking you to define it.
I mean, like we heard it from Councilmember Kroller, we heard it from the public commenters. They've identified what that disruptive, behavior that's unreasonably disruptive to others. So if someone is like near a trail or harassing folks in the park, is that not unreasonably disruptive to others?
It could be. That's a pretty gray area, I think.
For me, it just seems like we have, if we're talking about like this is a last resort, we have a tool that's already in the books. We don't have to create a new ordinance. We can utilize this tool to see, even if we see if it works, right? We're hearing some feedback. Maybe it will work. It might not. You have the opportunity to see if you can use it. If it's underutilized now.
I see what you're saying, but we still need legal authority to be there. And we need legal authority to contact people. We need legal authority to deal with the situation. And so if you're just going to issue a trespass warning, there's no real legal authority to identify them. There's a lot of complications with that ordinance. We got advised that there must be a violation of some other law ordinance before Chapter 823 TMC may be invoked. That came from the city attorney's office.
Sorry, I don't have it memorized. Which
823 is a trespass warning on city property.
So there needs to be an underlying crime.
Yes.
Which I'm looking and I'm seeing like it says illegal behavior, which is maybe the underlying crime, but I'm also seeing behavior that's unreasonably disruptive to others. And there's an explanation of what that behavior is. So if that behavior is not criminal, but it's unreasonably disruptive to others, would that not qualify?
Again, as our interim chief has been trying to explain, that is subjective and it depends on whose perspective you're seeking on that question. And so what I'm hearing is that by this council, perhaps a majority supporting a vote on this ordinance, you are adding then another tool for the law enforcement of the city, which you've heard them say, it is not something that they will use as a first measure. It's going to be more implemented as a last resort, but I've also heard public commenters express concern about that. It will create a tool that will allow action to be taken and people to be forcibly removed who are not heeding warnings. They give warnings. Those warnings are not always heeded.
And I'm also hearing that there's discretion with the camping ordinance too. So there's discretion with both.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I just feel like, yeah, we have this tool that we can be utilizing.
Okay, thank you, council members. That's a robust discussion. I just want to say before I ask for a motion, all these council members, me as an elected, as the mayor, I was a council member. These are tough decisions. The community comes and from both the yes and the no, they articulate a very passionate and compelling presentation to what they believe. And so we all live in Tukwila. We raise families here. Our loved ones are here, and we care about the city and the people that are here. So regardless of how council members will vote, they do care, and we are in the middle of living this with everybody else. So I'm going to ask for a motion to read by title only. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the, is it an ordinance? Be read by title only.
Okay, I have a first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, then, City Clerk, the motion passes. Will you read the ordinance by title?
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Tukwila, Washington, relating to camping on city property, establishing a new chapter of the Tukwila Municipal Code, TMC, Chapter 8.41, Camping Regulations, providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Is there a motion to approve as read? So move.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Council members, any more discussion or questions that you want to present?
I may have missed my opportunity to move to postpone. Is that right? It's on the tape.
Well, we have a motion on the table.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, sorry about that. Should we do this? Can I just do a voice vote or should I do a roll call? Just voice? Okay. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay.
No.
Is it a 4-3? Go ahead and do a quick roll call.
Councilmember Seal,
Nay.
Councilmember Cruller,
Aye.
Council President Papian,
Aye.
Councilmember Hedrick, or Martinez,
Aye.
Councilmember Cruller. Oh my goodness. Councilmember Hedrick,
Councilmember Hedrick is a nay.
Councilmember Camacho,
No.
Councilmember Ho.
Okay,
The motion passes 4 to 3.
4-3. All right. Thank you, everyone. Very robust discussion. Thank you, public, for your input on this. We will move on. It's getting late. We have a Public Works Shop Consolidation Phase 2 project update. As Director Ted Thompson makes her way to the table, I want to ask, is there a vote or a decision needed tonight, or it's just to inform the council of an update? What's that? It's an update. Do you guys want to, is there a shorter version you could give of it, or?
I mean, it's important, but we're all tired.
But what is the,
So I think the challenge that we have with the legislative analysts is that we have so many agenda items coming up really soon that either way, if we're not going to be hanging around today, if we postpone it to tomorrow, we'll be here still until 11 o'clock also. So that's just I just want to provide some context about why some of these meetings are going so long. There'll be a lot, and these meetings are going to go a lot longer, especially with budget session.
Can I mention this? We had a lot of public comment. Our public comment was over an hour and a half. So, if we take back what we had with the public comment, we'll have time in next coming meetings.
And also, and
have a presentation.
also in the past, what we've done, especially during a budget season, is we may have to end up having an extra meeting. We have
Oh,
special
like on a
meetings.
Tuesday.
We've done that a lot. So,
Tuesdays. We don't need that.
Director Ted Thompson, are you able to shorten it?
I can be brief. I can come back another day. It's totally up to you. I work every day.
Okay, I've heard 3 people say they want to move it. I'm seeing a 4th. Okay,
I move that we postpone this until the next reasonable time that our legislative analyst can schedule it.
right, motion is before you. All
probably
those in
give us-
favor to move it to another day signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to that?
That's okay, right, Carrie? Because it's not an action item.
It's okay.
Sorry.
can we
Director Ted-
to
Director
dispense
Ted
with reports
Thompson?
tonight? Can I move that we dispense with reports tonight?
Seconded.
Director Ted Thompson, my apologies that you stayed so late.
No
But
problem.
thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so it's been a first and second to suspend reports. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay? Okay, is there any miscellaneous? After all that, there better not be. Then we are adjourned.
I'm glad we beat the 11 o'clock deadline.